Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар. Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Yes.
The lead Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1171 of the War News stream. And we have massive news that right now there is major missile exchanges between Pakistan and India, and they are blowing the hell out of each other right now. And this war is getting really out of control minute by minute. Right now, we have the breaking news to bring to you, and it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the breaking news in an emergency war news stream at this moment, as we have been able to hear that major missile action has been conducted by the Republic of India against Pakistan, and Pakistan is now responding in full, as we've now been able to hear that explosions are ringing out in the major cities of Amritsar and Jammu, close to the area of the Pakistani border. At this moment right now, we have been able to hear that additionally, the Indian Navy is also sailing out into the Arabian Sea within striking distance of the city of Karachi, and the Pakistani Navy has now been mobilized, with a statement coming out stating that the Pakistani Navy will be attempting to sink and destroy all Indian vessels that are currently in the Arabian Sea at this moment. Not only that, we have also been able to hear that the missile attacks conducted by India have struck several airports throughout the area of northern Pakistan as well as central Pakistan as well, possibly crippling the Pakistani Air Force on the ground at these air bases. And we've also been able to hear of other significant attacks happening on the largest cantonment in the entirety of India and Pakistan within the area of the city of Karachi on one of the major N5 motorways heading to the city of Lahore. We have also been able to hear that in response, the Pakistanis have continued their attacks of their own throughout the course of the day, with air raid sirens being sounded over Srinagar as well as Jammu earlier in the day, and heavy artillery skirmishes and battles still being conducted along the line of control in the area of Jammu and Kashmir. We have a massive amount of breaking news that's been coming out at this moment from the entirety of the region, and I do have to say really quickly before we get into it that we will not be covering any news from outside of India and Pakistan during the stream today, and I can also promise y'all that this will be the only stream running today as well. We will not have time to be able to prepare. That time would be starting right now for a world news stream where we could cover literally everything going on in the world. We did have a minimal amount of news that we were able to compile from earlier today for our short war video, but we will be covering none of that tonight here on this stream. Our stream is going to be entirely focused on the situation that is rapidly evolving between Pakistan and India, as today, without a shadow of a doubt, this is clearly becoming a major conventional war if it already wasn't one in the days prior. We also were able to hear, finally, that the United States of America has been able to confirm that 2, at a minimum, Indian aircraft were shot down by Pakistani J-10 aircraft within the opening of the offensive several days ago. But nevertheless, we have a major amount of news here on the channel, and moving us on into some of the largest pieces of news that we have at this moment, we're going to start from the present and move backwards into the past, so starting from what happened most recently and then moving backwards into the stuff that happened earlier on in the day. We were able to hear that at this moment, explosions right now are occurring in the cities of Amritsar and Jammu, as Pakistani armed forces have now announced that they are conducting a counterattack against the Republic of India for the strikes that were just conducted on the Pakistani airfields approximately an hour and a half ago. We were able to hear from an Indian Twitter account that explosions are being heard in the city of Amritsar, and we also got Reuters reports later on near to the area of Jammu that blasts and explosions are also being heard within the Jammu city area of Jammu and Kashmir. It does appear at this moment we are currently seeing that a major Pakistani counterattack is underway against the Republic of India for the attacks that were conducted quite literally just an hour and a half ago. And moving on into those major attacks, while we have been able to hear that major border fighting has been happening today, and that there's been a limited amount of drone incursions happening over the area of Jammu and Kashmir, both by the Indians and the Pakistanis, we have also been able to hear that apparently at this moment there has been a major missile attack onto the city of Rawalpindi, also the major airbase near the Chakwal, or largely the Balkhisar airbase, as well as the airbase at Shorkot. We also have been able to hear from Matthew that we also have some breaking news that is coming out live at this moment. And so Matthew, what do we have?
All right, so we're hearing right now from various different Pakistani sources that Pakistan has started, as of this moment, Operation Bunan al-Marus, and they're now targeting multiple different targets inside of India, including a BrahMos storage site, which contains cruise missiles that India is storing at that facility. Right now, we're hearing reports of multiple loud explosions inside of India, and we're also hearing, according to Pakistani sources, 4 Indian military bases have been targeted, as well as Pakistani military aircraft striking multiple different other targets inside of India. So it appears a full-scale operation is currently in progress, literally right this second, by Pakistan, and they are launching massive attacks, with the largest site being hit being the BrahMos cruise missile storage facility in the area of Beas. It's spelled B-E-A-S, and apparently that cruise missile site was there, and it has been hit, according to the reports.
So it appears that this may actually be the cruise missile site right here. There appears to be a large amount of semi-hardened or hardened ammunition shelters that appear to be near to the area of Warike, which is just to the northeast of the town of Beas. Of course, as Nicolas Cage said in a prior movie, not the bees, and it appears that at this moment, the bees are, as a matter of fact, what is being attacked directly. So really quickly, let me make sure to put down a marker here on our map to show exactly where this location is inside of the Republic of India. And let me see here. Where in the world was that? So it is right here, further behind Amritsar, near Jalandhar. So we will go in between here, and there it is at Bees. And then this was the ammunition storage facility. So this is the ammo storage facility that is currently being targeted by the Islamic Republic of Iran at this moment. We're going to be putting that down on the map right there, and then also making sure to put a little explosion icon on there, so that way any of y'all who have clicked on the link in the description below to this map can actually see exactly what is going on here live at this moment. But we have been able to confirm that not only have explosions occurred in the city of Amritsar, Jammu, and now we've also been able to hear of Bees, we have been able to confirm that earlier in the day it appeared that Pakistani aircraft had already been scrambled in the region and may have been possibly preparing for these attacks that we're currently seeing right now, as we were able to see Pakistani F-16s over the skies flying at a low level with afterburners full on, as it appeared that they were racing towards the Indian border. that's the end of that clip right there. But once again, showing us, at least near to the area of Sialkot, that it did appear that Pakistani aircraft were active earlier in the day as they were continuing to either conduct combat air patrols or they were preparing to open up the skies for their attack against the Republic of India later in the day. Considering the locality of this clip near Sialkot to the areas that were stricken, such as Jammu, Bees, and Amritsar, it does appear at this moment there's a decent amount of validity to say that that was possibly 4 hours ago the beginning of the air operations by Pakistan to start to conduct these strikes on India. But these were not the first strikes that we were able to hear of, at least over the course of the day. But we are actually hearing of more incoming strikes at this moment right now while we are live on air. And so, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so we are getting some breaking news right now from Fintux News, and also, by the way, we have one of their posters in the chat right now that's feeding me that information, so I appreciate that a lot. And Fintux is telling us that the Pathankot Airfield and Udhampur Air Force Station in India have been hit, according to the Pakistan military, which is being reported by Reuters. So apparently, the Pathankot Airfield, once again, an Indian Air Force station, has been hit, and also the Udhampur Air Force Station has been hit as well with Pakistani airstrikes. So those are two more sites that have been apparently, at least claimed by the Pakistanis, to have been hit with their missiles, in addition to the BrahMos site in Bees also being hit as well. I am seeing some unconfirmed reports of the BrahMos storage site, which is their cruise missile site in India. It apparently has been destroyed, at least according to preliminary reports. But once again, take it with a grain of salt. We need more video and picture evidence to prove that it was destroyed first. But if that is indeed the case, they were storing a lot of BrahMos missiles there at that site, and that appears to be a pretty big hit if that is indeed confirmed. But once again, 3 sites so far, at least alleged to be hit.
All right, and really quickly, let me make sure to put down here on the map some markers to show that these airfields have been attacked, because we are trying to keep track this time as accurately as we can of airports and airfields that have been attacked over the course of the day in both India and Pakistan. And I'll actually be showing you all those markers inside of Pakistan here in a minute once we're able to get out of the current breaking news that's developing at this point because of the Pakistani counterattacks that are well underway right now, at least from what we're able to hear. Also, let me make sure to put down the bulletin on the map showing that those air bases are currently under attack. So I'll put this one up near Udhampur to make sure to make the area further south in Punjab a little less congested. So we'll put airfields under attack by Pakistan here on these markers. And of course, I'm making sure to include all of our links to these Twitter articles, so that way if you want to see the proof, or at least the claims that are actually being made at this moment, you can click on the link description below, go to this map, click on any of the markers, and there is a video or picture evidence or government statement that is attached to each of them. Nevertheless, we are hearing at this point that quite a wide variety of targets are currently being hit right now in between the areas of Jammu and Amritsar, both in the Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab regions, but it does appear that at least at this point, the Pakistani airstrikes are incredibly strong, at least in size. We do not know as to the success of the attacks or what kind of targets they are specifically hitting or the exact damage reports at this moment, but it does appear that they are hitting quite a large number. Really quickly, we actually might be able to take some time here to actually see what kind of an air wing is stationed at the Pathankot Airport, or the airfield used by the Indian Air Force. So let me go see Pathankot Air Base, and let's see if we can find ourselves some information about this airbase here. And so, let's see here. April 2018. So we don't really want to know about the civilian airfield. We really want to know about the military side of the airfield that is attached there. Pathankot Air Base, Indian Air Force. And let's see if we can find any information about what aircraft or what air wing is currently stationed here at this airfield. So it appears that it has the 18th wing of the Indian Air Force at this airfield. So let's go pull up the 18th wing of the Indian Air Force and see if we can find any information about what kind of aircraft are here. So the number 18 squadron of the Indian Air Force appears to have a rocket with wings as the emblem for their unit, a little bit of an interesting one, but it appears that they primarily operate the Tejas Mark I, which we can see right here. So it appears that the airbase that is operating a decent amount of the frontline fighters that would be stationed near to the border inside of India is currently under attack. We also might be able to find some additional information as well, while we're live on air, about the Udhampur Airport or in airfield, and what kind of aircraft are actually in service or stationed here. Really quickly, I'm going to give a cursory glance just to make sure we're not missing any aircraft, and we can get this answer pretty easily, though we know that at least the number 18 squadron down in the area of, and let me make sure I get the name of the town correct, it is the city of Paksitan, is currently under attack at the moment, and we've also been able to hear that another airbase at Udhampur is also under attack as well. So let me see if I can go put in the Udhampur airbase. This is a really tough one. Let's see, Udhampur air. Let's see here. So, while that fly just flew right into my eyeball there in the middle of our place, it appears that the Udhampur Air Station of the Indian Air Force is home to the number 153 helicopter unit of the Indian Air Force, and that appears to be just about it. They operate primarily Mi-17, so this appears to be some sort of an air transport wing or a rotary wing transport unit of the Indian Air Force, not the Indian Army, which has also been targeted as well, along with number 18 Squadron, which operates the Tejas aircraft from the area of the city, and let me make sure to get the name correct again, because I want to make sure that we get it right, of Paksitan. So we are able to confirm that at least those two air squadrons are currently under attack at this moment by the Pakistani Air Force. But getting all into the major news that we have been able to hear about that happened just an hour and a half before this, that preceded this attack, but was the major Indian attack that had occurred earlier, literally just an hour and a half ago, we were able to hear that the Republic of India was able to launch a significant drone and missile strike against the entirety of northern and central Pakistan. We were able to hear that missile impacts were reported specifically around the area of Rawalpindi, but we also were able to hear that 3 different airfields were targeted over the area of northern Pakistan as well as central Pakistan near to the region of the Indian border. We were able to hear first and foremost that the major airbase at Rawalpindi, which also has the Pakistani Army headquarters incredibly close nearby, was targeted in a significant attack, and it does appear that at this moment video and picture evidence is confirming that major amounts of damage have occurred at that airfield. Further south, we have also been able to hear that the Chakwal Air Base, just to the southwest of the city of Chakwal, has also been hit as well by Indian missile attacks. We also were able to hear even further south that the Shorkat Air Base near to Pir Mahal has also been attacked as well, as it appears that all 3 air bases were part of a simultaneous attack conducted by the Republic of India against Pakistan's air bases to attempt to knock out the air wings and air forces at each of these air bases. Unfortunately, we were not able to do any research on the air wings or units or squadrons that are based out of all of these airfields, but we have been able to hear that at least several C-130 Hercules based at the Rawalpindi Air Base have been destroyed in the course of the attack. We were able to see video and picture evidence of the entire attack from its beginning over the skies of Rawalpindi to the actual impacts of the missiles on the ground, and all of the eyewitness accounts and testimonies all the way even as far north as Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan. First, we were able to see the missiles flying in and some interceptions being conducted by the Pakistani air defense on the ground below, which we can see in this clip right here. We can see one of the interceptions being conducted on one of the incoming Indian missiles, but it does appear that while the air defense was successful in downing at least some of the missiles, it didn't appear that they were entirely successful on all of them. We were able to get proof, however, that some of these missiles fell into the streets below, the debris causing a significant fire in one of the major thoroughfares right outside of the airbase at Rawalpindi.
मैंने भी सोचा मैं कहा नहीं यार तो बड़ा रिस्क है नहीं शायद स्पीड में हुआ हो ये उल्टा है यहाँ पे मेरे सामने उल्टा है तेजी होके उलट गया वो तेजी से निकला है.
That's the end of the clip right there, but moving on from that and on into our next clips, we also were able to see the actual the impacts onto the airbase here in this clip, which we can see right here. We can see fires raging at the Rawalpindi Air Base in these following clips. We have about 3 of them here that were published by Clash Report, once again showing clear evidence in picture and video that the airbase had been significantly hit, and fires were now raging throughout most of the area of the southern part, or the tarmac, of the Rawalpindi Air Base. From what we largely understand, most of the fires that we were able to see were occurring near to the southeasterly area of the airfield. We can see here visibly that a large amount of Pakistani Pakistani Air Force C-130 Hercules and other kinds of transport aircraft were openly stationed here, along with a couple of Ilyushin 76s, which are also operated by the Pakistani Air Force as well. Nevertheless, it does appear that those are the major locations that apparently were hit by these missiles, and that appears to be where the fires are originating from. We also were able to see another clip showing the Norcon Air Base, and once again geolocating the actual impacts to the area of the southern side of the airfield. We can actually see right here the sight line visible in this part of the video, right here. Once again showing us that the cameraman was looking southwards, northbound towards the southeastern side of the airfield, and most likely towards transport aircraft that had been hit and caught on fire in these explosions. We also were able to see the video that this geolocation was done from in this clip right here, also letting us hear the sound of the incoming Indian missiles and the explosions on the tarmac below.
Oh, sheet. The old famous words, oh, sheet.
Man, as everyone knows, the ancient Pakistani proverb of shit. It's like, man, classic one right there. Really know that one. But beyond that, we also were able to see more missile impacts occurring at the Rawalpindi Air Base right here in this clip as well.
Ooh.
But that's the end of that clip. That appears to actually be a secondary hit after the first one we just saw in the first clip, actually taken by the same cameraman from the same angle. We were able to see that after the strikes occurred, there were people crowding around in the streets. Apparently it was, they were saying it was an outpouring of support to the Pakistani armed forces, but you really can't tell that this just looks like a crowd of people in the streets. But here's the clip. It seems like they're ready to go, at least from what we can tell. Nevertheless, moving on from that and on into a clip further north, we also were able to hear that explosions were being reported before we even got the clips out of Islamabad, Pakistan. And now that we have all of the picture and video evidence that we could ever have, we are able to confirm that the airfield did take several direct hits from Indian cruise missiles fired into the area. We also were able to hear that these explosions were so large they were heard all the way from Islamabad, several miles away from the Norcon Air Base at Rawalpindi, which we can hear in this clip right here. That was the sound of one of the explosions that occurred at Rawalpindi. We have not been able to confirm visually any explosions that have actually occurred within the Islamabad city area. There has been a rumor that has been published by the Pakistani government tonight that the Indians actually attempted to target the Pakistani parliamentary building, but we were not able to confirm or corroborate any of that information whatsoever, as there was no real video or picture evidence that has come from the city of Islamabad showing us air defense activity intercepting Indian missiles or confirming impacts, largely leading us to believe that the only attacks that were being conducted by India so far were at the Norcon Air Base inside of Rawalpindi. Once again, we were also able to hear that other air bases were targeted and attacked in the middle of this incident further south. For example, the air base just outside of Chakwal was also targeted as well by Indian missiles, and we have been able to hear, at least initially, that there were some impacts in the area and explosions were reported, but we do not know where these explosions or impacts happened at the airfield or if they caused any significant damage to its operational abilities. Once again, we are largely working off of video and picture evidence here on this channel to be able to confirm or corroborate any kind of data or information or first-hand reports that are coming through, and unless we're able to get those, we really cannot speak to the depth or analysis needed to actually state what is going to be happening as a result of these Indian missile attacks. However, all we can confirm at this moment is that there were reports of explosions coming from the direction of the Chakwal Air Base from the area of the city of Chakwal itself, largely confirming that there are explosions that are ongoing in the area, but we still do not know exactly where those missiles landed, unlike the ones at Norcon and Rawalpindi. We also were able to hear even farther south, way farther south as a matter of fact, at the Shorkat Air Base, which we can see right over here, that it appears that this air base has also been targeted and hit by Indian missiles as well, about an hour and 30 minutes ago. We were able to hear that apparently this base, which appears to be housing JF-17 Thunders, of the Pakistani Air Force were targeted and possibly hit and damaged in the process of the attack, but once again, we have no video and picture evidence to confirm the actual location of the missile impacts on this airbase either, and so for that reason, we are largely taking a decent shot at saying that the missiles probably landed in a critical area, but once again, we are not entirely sure. Nevertheless, we are also now hearing that while India was able to get off some pretty heavy shots onto the Pakistanis, it now sounds like they are taking their turns at having some pretty significant shots fired back in their direction from the Pakistani Air Force and missile batteries on the ground, and now their airfields in turn are also suffering direct hits. One thing that is incredibly apparent in this conflict so far is that there is a serious lack of ground-based air defense batteries that are of a significant quality or a high technological ability inside of this conflict, as we have been able to see that most missiles or targets that have been attempted to be attacked by both sides appear to actually be landing their hits. We're not really seeing a lot of instances where a lot of these attempted attacks are just that, attempted. They appear to be successful attacks almost all the time. The only time that we've ever seen that a air operation has been successful is in the offensive. We have not heard of a single defensive air operation so far that has also been successful by either side, and so it appears that at this moment, a strong offense is a strong offense, and there's no such thing as a strong defense on either side at this moment, as pretty much all missiles are impacting their targets, both in India and Pakistan. Nevertheless, we have been able to hear from Matthew that we have more breaking news updates that are coming out at this moment, most likely on the continuing attacks that have been occurring inside of Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir by the Pakistani Air Force. And so what do we got, Matthew?
All right. So the attack is ongoing by Pakistan on India at the moment. We've been reported that by multiple different sources. Once again, the Pathankot airfield has been reported to have been struck inside of India, alongside the Udhampur Air Force Station, also in India. So we have two different pieces of footage to take a look at right now.
Really quickly, Matthew, it appears that OBS just disconnected and reconnected there for a second. A little bit odd with that one. Don't know what happened there. But I'm sure that the stream has largely been fine. Hopefully no major lag occurred. But if, just in case the lag was occurring, to recap what Matthew's saying, we were able to get, thanks to his amazing news covering, well, not really news covering, but news finding and news searching that he's doing on Twitter, which he's valiantly doing in the background the entire time I'm trying to get you all up to speed on what's happened so far. We have been able to hear that apparently Pakistan has published video and picture evidence of the ballistic missile strikes that were conducted by Pakistan, and we've also been able to get confirmations of impacts at the airfield at Umpador, which is apparently home to a rotary airlift wing operating Mi-17 helicopters of the Indian Air Force. So here in this clip, we can see the missile launches that have been conducted by Pakistan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today on 10th May, at the time of Fajr, we have given a strong punch.
I don't know what this guy's actually talking about here.
Alhamdulillah.
But we can see the missile launches nevertheless.
So he actually gave us the date and time stamp, basically, verbally, so we know this is from today.
We believe, we don't really know which ballistic missiles were being launched here, which targeted which airfield, because we do have two airfields at this moment that are reporting explosions. We are hearing that the Pathankot airfield has been attacked, as well as the Udhampur airport has also been attacked, which we actually were able to see video evidence here of the impacts off in the distance at the airfield. Actually, really quickly, we might be able to geolocate this a little bit because there are some significant landmarks in the area. We can see what appears to be a major mountain range or ridgeline right behind the area of the impacts, and it also appears that this area of the city was on a hill. So let's go up to Upandor and let's see if we can actually confirm the direction at which this would have occurred. So we can see, at least in the background here, quite visibly, the forested sides of the mountains, which would be just off to the side of the city, and it does appear that at least further up here, near to this V-Mart, that there is a larger promontory or a hill that a decent amount of the city was on. So if we were to work off of that information alone and say that the camera person was close to this V-Mart in one of these buildings, looking off into the distance, it actually does appear that most of these impacts happened on the northern side of the airbase, which actually would be near to the preparation areas, hardened shelters, and the tarmac, which would be used by the Indian Air Force or by this rotary airlift wing, which is currently operating out of this airfield, largely meaning showing that we are able to confirm direct missile impacts by Pakistan directly onto the military part of this airbase, which is currently being used actively by the Indian Air Force. So these hits can be confirmed, but once again, we do not know the extent of damage or vehicular and equipment losses that have occurred on the ground, although we can confirm that the strikes hit that exact area of the airfield where the military is operating from. We also have been
Also, by the way, another big piece of information right here is we are getting reports from India Today, which is a journalist outfit inside of India, apparently. A Fateh 1 missile apparently headed toward an undisclosed strategic target inside of India and was intercepted and destroyed by Indian air defense in the western sector. So a Fateh 1 missile, that's actually, I think, one of their bigger missiles they have. That they could have fired. So we'll have to do some more looking on that missile. I'm not very familiar with it, but I believe that is a pretty large one.
I believe the Fateh 1. Interesting enough, man, that's the name of the first like terror group in Gaza. Like that's a little bit interesting to me. But beyond that, it is a medium range hypersonic ballistic missile. I don't think this is the correct Fateh. This one only has one T in it, so let's go get the Pakistani Fateh one. Fateh. And that's what New Yorkers say, when they're looking for their dad. But beyond that, let's see here. List of missiles of Pakistan. So let's see. So the Fateh 1 has a 140-kilometer range. It does not appear to suggest that it is hypersonic in any way, and it doesn't really appear that there's a lot of information about the missile either, which is why we largely are ignorant to the system here on the channel. It doesn't even appear that we could read about it if we wanted to. But we can confirm that it does have a 140-kilometer distance, which doesn't mean that it's an incredibly large missile. This actually would be comparable to that of a GMLRS missile from a HIMARS that would have been launched inside of Ukraine. So not an incredibly large missile, but one that does have a significant enough range that it could have targeted either airbase that is currently in question right now as being hit. So that is a fairly interesting thing to hear, that India stated that one of those missiles was intercepted, possibly suggesting that while their air defense is highly weak, they are still able to intercept a limited number of missiles being launched from either side in either direction. Meanwhile, we have also been able to hear that Pakistan has now issued a NOTAM over its entire airspace, closing the whole thing down to any kinds of flights. We can clearly see that here. This is a recent post from Flight Radar 24 showing us that every single flight is currently avoiding the area of Afghanistan and Pakistan collectively. It also does appear that at this moment we were able to see the official NOTAM that was issued by Pakistan right here. And it appears that there was really no information provided by Pakistan when issuing the NOTAM beyond the fact that Pakistani airspace will remain closed for all types of air traffic, for the large part beyond authorized military air traffic, such as the Pakistani Air Force. We have also been able to hear some additional news and information that at this moment it appears that freedom fighter, quote-unquote, terrorist groups are now targeting Pakistani forces within the Balochi area of Pakistan, which is a significant region within the western area of the nation of Pakistan, which we can see in this clip right here. And we're going to be playing the clip, but we're going to be muting the audio. We can see here a Pakistani patrol moving through the area. And
wow. Jeez.
From what we assume, it appears to have been some sort of an IED of some kind that was detonated by the Balochi insurgents, which we can see right here did wipe out a significant number of the patrol. We can then see them moving to assess the wounded. It does not actually appear that there was an active firefight that evolved in this entire instance, which is also a little bit bizarre, I will admit, but still an interesting thing to see that there is now unrest inside of a major area of Pakistan. Let me go see really quickly.
Also, before we move on any further, I just want to make this note as well. The attack on India has been so extensive that the Indian Army was planning on holding a press conference in mere just minutes. It was supposed to be already started, but now it's been delayed for 4 entire hours as the Indian Army is scrambling to learn how to respond to this current attack. So apparently the Indian military is in a bit of a piece of chaos right now. They're really not sure how to respond, so they're having to assemble all their people together to figure out what they're going to do from this point forward. So they have canceled and delayed the press conference for 4 entire hours as these strikes are ongoing. And right now we have no evidence that these strikes by the Pakistani side has stopped on the Indian country. So we don't know right now if it actually is still ongoing, but it appears to be. It probably is. So it looks like it's still pretty extensive across India.
Once again, folks, I do want to make this clear that Matthew and me are working with the best information that we have. As of our prior information, the airstrikes were still ongoing, and we're working with that information until there is anything else proof-wise that can say that the attacks have ended. So at this moment, we're still working off of the idea that there is an active air campaign or airstrike campaign being conducted by Pakistan against India in response for the attacks that India conducted just a little while earlier. At this point, it would have been about 2 hours ago that these attacks occurred by the Indians against major air bases throughout Pakistan. And also, really quickly, I do want to point out that we were able to have a statement from apparently Reuters. This is where I've heard the statement was coming from, that the Norcon Air Base, the Murid and Shorkat air bases had all been hit in the process of the Indian attack, which led to the Pakistanis to respond of an attack of their own, now hitting the air bases at the area of Pathankot and Udambur, further up in the Jammu and Kashmir region. We have also been able to hear at the exact same time that there appeared to have been an attack that was occurring on Peshawar, which is a major city in Pakistan's western regions, which I'll actually bring y'all to right here. And we were able to hear that apparently this attack may have been attempting to target the Bacha Khan International Airport, which is also used once again by the Pakistani Air Force. You can see the Pakistani Air Force facilities here in this area of the clip, and you can actually, as a matter of fact, see a JF-17 Thunder here on the satellite footage, once again showing us that this appears to be some sort of a combat air wing that was stationed out of this airbase. While we were not able to hear that this airbase had any direct hits, we were able to see that air defense activity was being reported over Peshawar, and we also were able to see that in this clip right here. Also, I have just been told really quickly by Matthew that we actually have to interrupt this for some breaking news.
All right, so we're getting some very big breaking news right now that while Pakistan is still attacking India, we are getting some preliminary information that the Indian military sources claim the Indian air operations are now currently underway once again against Pakistan and actually inside of Pakistan. At least that's what we're hearing right now. So it looks like the Indian Air Force has once again sent their Air Force up in the sky, and it looks like they're starting to attack once again inside of Pakistan. So there could be a simultaneous attack on India and Pakistan going on at the exact same time. As we're speaking right now, as it appears to be that neither the Pakistan nor Indians have stopped attacking. So it looks like they're both doing it at the same time. We're not sure what the Indians are allegedly striking right now, but they are in the air according to the recent reports.
And we do actually hear, at least from this report, and I'll show you all our Twitter here to show this directly, that according to RTRS, the Indian military states that Indian air operations are currently underway inside of Pakistan, suggesting that it's not an air operation that's being conducted from inside of India and launching the missiles into Pakistan. The aircraft have actually flown into Pakistan itself and are launching the attacks from inside of Pakistani airspace, possibly suggesting that there is a gap in the skies of Pakistan where there is no air defense that they are now currently exploiting to conduct longer range attacks, or it's also a likelihood that this may be an exaggeration and the Indians are starting to exaggerate the claims again, which is a fairly common thing on both sides so far in the conflict. But we have been able to see, once again, getting us back to the air defense that was occurring over Peshawar, that it appeared that this airbase also came under attack, although we did not hear of any reports of explosions on the ground, suggesting that most incoming missiles fired by the Indians were intercepted before they could even really get close to the city of Peshawar. But that's the end of the clip, still showing us the actual instance of the air defense over Peshawar. And we have also been able to hear some looser reports that there was apparently also a simultaneous attack at the same time conducted against the Indian Air Base at the Jinnah International Airport here in Karachi. But we have not been able to confirm that at all, even with reports on our end. And so, folks, if you do have that report and we're just missing out on it, please make sure to direct message us on Twitter or at the Enforcer account on Twitter with the actual proof of the news, so that way we can make sure to include that here, because we have absolutely no proof at this moment of any kind of an attack that has occurred in the Karachi airfield area as of about 2 hours ago when the other attacks were being conducted. So at this moment, we do not have that in our news coverage. Beyond that, however, it did appear that India conducted a significant air attack against the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which has now led to the major air actions that we're hearing of from both sides right now. Not only that, we have also also been able to hear at sea that the Indian Navy is now moving within striking distance of the port of Karachi and may be moving to conduct a naval blockade of the country. The Telegraph is reporting that India has moved its western fleet closer to the northern Arabian Sea, placing it within striking range of Karachi, Pakistan's largest port. The strike group includes an aircraft carrier, destroyers, frigates, and anti-submarine ships, and is roughly 300 to 400 miles from the Pakistani coast, i.e., well within shooting distance. This means that the port of Karachi right now may be facing a serious situation where the most important port in the country may be blockaded. It does not take a lot to look at the port of Karachi and clearly see that there is a significant amount of maritime activity that's conducted from this port, and not only that, it is a major artery, and from what we understand, one of the only arteries in the country for intermodal trade, which is a significant part of the global supply chains and a significant part of Pakistan's export and import economic abilities. If this port is to be blockaded or heavily damaged in an impending Indian attack, it may be the case that Pakistan starts to suffer significant hemorrhaging economically, as a large amount of their goods may not be able to make it into the open market, and they may not also be able to see any kind of maritime traffic entering the country in a large enough form or in a safe enough way that many ships would want to make the voyage to Pakistan and offload goods and unload others for the rest of the global world. That is something that is incredibly important. And another thing that some people may be wondering is, what kind of targets will we be looking at in Karachi to be hit if there was going to be some sort of significant damage? Well, the entire port actually relies on one single thing, and it actually is quite a vulnerable, weak link in the whole chain that actually could get knocked out quite easily, and if they get knocked out, the damage is going to be permanent. These cranes right here are specially made, and you actually have to have these built on site to have them as a functional part of your port. The entire port lives and dies on these specially made cranes, much like any other intermodal facility throughout the world. And considering that India is within striking distance, if they know the exact locations when conducting the attack that a lot of these cranes are currently parked or operating in, they can strike the cranes, pretty much knocking out the port effective indefinitely until the Pakistanis were able to repair the cranes and bring them back into operational status. So if these cranes are knocked out, we may see that the entire intermodal facility of the port ends up going under and is completely inoperable until repairs are effected. So if we are seeing an attack, we are most likely going to be expecting, if India wants to deal a death nail blow to the import and export abilities of Pakistan, these cranes will most likely be a direct target of an incoming Indian attack. We have also been able to hear that a lot of people are throwing in their opinions at this point on what is really happening out there with the Indian Navy currently at sea, just 300, 400 miles off of the coastline of Karachi and well within striking distance of India's naval abilities. India is deploying an entire carrier strike group, one of the few that they have, to Pakistan's coast near to their biggest port, the port of Karachi. And a lot of people have been putting in their thoughts about what's going to be happening as a result of this. And it appears that many people are saying that India is planning to attack the port and most likely knock it out. Others are saying that there seems like a 50-50 chance that either option can happen, or it's largely attempting to put more pressure on the Pakistanis to give in to Indian demands, and is largely a threat or an imposing threat to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to make them stop what they're doing and give in to whatever India's demands may be. But it does seem as though a lot of people are under the belief that there is going to be no attempted pressuring here. This is entirely preparing for a major attack that will attempt to debilitate the entirety of Pakistan's maritime economic lifeline. And so, Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So 66% of the audience said India is planning to attack Pakistan's largest port, which is in Karachi. We're also seeing that 17% said India will simply use it as a threat or leverage, and about 9% said it seems like a 50-50 chance of an attack on the port. And considering the fact that India has deployed one of their carrier strike groups, like the enforcer mentioned, one of the few strike groups they have, very limited in ships when it comes to India. We're currently seeing that very close to Karachi. I would not be shocked whatsoever to see them launch an attack on that port. Now, whether or not they do it today, that's another story. But I think if this keeps escalating at the current rate, then we will almost certainly see attacks on Karachi. And once again, that is a very big deal for Pakistan, because that handles about 60% of Pakistan's trade and also is the home to their naval HQ inside of Pakistan. So that would be quite devastating if India decided to wipe that port out. that would be a very bad strategic loss for the Pakistanis. And once again, one they really can't truly afford to have in the middle of a war. So right now, the Indians do hold that card up their sleeve. And considering that they're currently launching a massive retaliatory strike, at least according to the reports we're hearing from Reuters, literally at this moment, that could be imminent. There's no telling. But right now, we just simply don't know for a fact. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I would believe without a doubt that the Indian Navy is moving into position to conduct an attack on the port of Karachi here fairly soon. That appears to be the entire case of the situation that we're seeing. Considering that major attacks are occurring elsewhere, it wouldn't really make any sense that they would be attempting to conduct a diplomatic maneuver by forcing a low-level coercion attempt onto the port of Karachi. This naval contingent is most likely moving in to enforce a blockade and also knock out the port of Karachi pretty much once and for all. That's what I would largely assume at this point, because that would make the most sense, considering that they're clearly going to war. I mean, well, they're not clearly going to war. They're clearly in a state of war. So a diplomatic pressuring effort would seem to be highly unlikely, at least at this point, with how everything has gone so far. Nevertheless, I hope that does address that the best I can. And moving on from that, we have been able to hear that Pakistan officially stated that they are going to be destroying the Indian Navy. Pakistan Navy spokesperson warned that if the Indian Navy makes any wrong move or crosses the line, we will destroy and sink them in the Arabia Sea, which seems to be a little bit ambitious, considering that the Indian Navy, by every single criteria on a conventional level, is far going to outdo the Pakistani Navy in actual ability. So I think that might be a little bit of a stretch by the Pakistan Navy spokesperson, but they can still give it a shot, and who knows, they might actually succeed, considering that there is a complete lack of air defense from what we're telling right now on both sides. It's an insane amount of lack of air defense. They have air defense, it's just not effective. Like, that's maybe the best way you can explain it, because we are seeing a lot of defense activity in any of these attacks, and yes, some missiles are shot down by both sides, but still a decent amount of them, at least half or more, are making it through to their targets and are actually hitting them. So it appears that... Go ahead.
I got very big news right now. So we had gotten the reports just a moment ago that the Indians were attacking the Pakistanis. At the same time, the Pakistanis were still launching their attack on India that was still in progress. Right now, we're getting preliminary reports that there are major aerial dogfights over Srinagar, which is apparently... Where is that at?
Damn.
Where is that at, by the way? That blew my ears out. But where was that at? Srinagar on the map.
Srinagar is right up here.
Okay, so right now we are getting some preliminary reports of dogfights, aerial dogfights with fighter jets above this town right here. So that is what we're hearing right now. Also, in addition to that, we are also hearing reports from Geo News that Pakistan's reportedly launched a major cyber attack on 70% of India's power grid, and right now they're having power issues across India as a result of that cyber attack. So the escalations are off the charts right now. Like, that is proven true. Those two things right there, those in themselves are massive. Also, by the way, we are getting some video here claiming, this is, once again, take this part with a grain of salt. Pakistan's claiming to have destroyed India's brigade HQ of KG Top. And right now we have a video allegedly showing some launches that apparently went toward the brigade HQ. But take that one with a grain of salt. We need more evidence on that one. But Enforcer, you should see the video on our Twitter page.
I do see the video, actually. And also, let's see, KG Top, isn't that a rapper, Matthew? I don't think that's a brigade headquarters.
ZZ Top, I think.
Either one. I still think that's a rapper more so than an actual military base. But it does appear it is a clip showing us more launches. I'm going to be putting this down here near to our other missile launches clip, as we don't really know exactly where this was in Pakistan. But we can see these missile launches being conducted right here. So I'll be bringing y'all over here to this clip. And this is the one that busted all of our eardrums out a second ago. What's accidentally played when it wasn't supposed to in the middle of Matthew talking when I was trying to get on our Twitter. I literally clicked open the Twitter tab, Matthew, and as soon as I did, this clip played on full volume and nearly blew my eardrums out too. I was like, dang. I was like, that was a little too quick. But anyways, here's the clip.
Next.
Did that guy just literally say next?
Is he the one issuing the orders? That might be the commander.
Man, he just went next.
Next.
I don't think that's a valid order. Like, I've never heard a battery commander go, okay, fire. Next one. Like, I've never heard that as an order before, so that'd be new. That'd be a new way to run a military right there if you just say next and you shoot off another missile. But Now they're all applauding. Okay.
Oh no.
I thought that was like an exclusively Middle East thing.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Honestly, I really felt like that was more of like a Yemeni Houthi Syrian rebel kind of a thing. Not really a. Anyways.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Well,
also, by the way, I believe these launchers on the ground, because I was trying to find out what these were. I think these are Chinese launchers, whatever they are. I'm not really sure exactly what the designation is, but they are Chinese in origin, I'm being told by various sources on Twitter.
So let's go find them because they are an MLRS and would be listed under their official equipment tab. So let's see if we can find that specific launcher. So it appears to be an A100E, and that actually looks to be a Chinese-made version of the Uragan. So let's see here if we can actually get that. So it's a 300mm MLRS, fairly similar looking to that of the Uragan. Let me go pull up the Uragan here. Actually, that would not... Actually, no, sorry, it is the Smirch. Correction there, folks. Smirch MLRS. There we go. So this appears to be the Chinese comparable version to the Smirch, which we can see right there. So let me show you its battery on display. Notice how... Let me go back to the A100E picture here. Notice how the launcher array here, Matthew, is actually the same kind of arrangement. 4 on each side and then 4 across the top. Exact same.
Yeah, it looks very similar, yeah.
And so let me see here really quickly. Is this also 300mm? I believe, yeah, it actually is 300mm. So this is really just the Chinese license-built version of a BM-30 Smirch from the Soviet Union or the modern-day Russian Federation. But that appears to be the system that we were able to see in this clip firing. It does appear, really quickly, it does appear to be an A100E. We can see that very distinct flat front cab. We can also see what appears to be, at least later on the clip, right there, the same kind of launcher or launcher array that it would be on the back of the actual truck. So for that reason, it does appear to be a Chinese-made A100E, which is a version of the BM-30 Smirch that is Chinese license produced. So with that in mind, it does appear that, once again, the Pakistanis are starting to lean a little bit heavily on the Chinese-made equipment, because we also were able to hear, mind you all, something that was a little bit of an aside, that the United States of America and its government, through its own intelligence sources, have been able to confirm that 2 Indian aircraft were shot down by the Chinese-made J-10s. That was according to U.S. officials, cited to Reuters. So we are able to confirm by pretty much every single metric from inside of India, inside of Pakistan, and inside of America that at least 2 aircraft of the Indian Air Force were shot down so far by the Chinese J-10s provided to Pakistan. So we can finally have, once and for all of the Indian viewers stop coming in here and telling us that that did not happen. It did happen because now even America is confirming it, so womp womp cry about it. Moving on from that, though, we have been able to hear that there is even more breaking news that is occurring at this moment. And Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so we are getting video evidence showing Pakistan firing, it looks like heavy artillery right into India's Kashmir region. So we do have video on our Twitter page of that. It's our second video down. And we also have a video that came out allegedly showing Pakistan launching more missiles at targets in India from a ground launched, it appears to be a Chinese weapon system. So once again, they've opened heavy artillery fire on the Indians yet again, while these dogfights are taking place near Srinagar in the Indian side.
And really quickly, let me make sure to put these down on the map so that we were tracking everything here. And let's see, we're going to put this one up in the Kashmir region. Once again, folks, we don't know the exact location of these clips, but we'll put down missile launches here in this clip. And so here we are, and we'll put that down right there. We'll put that right there. So let's get y'all into these clips. So first off, we were able to see artillery fires being conducted by the Pakistani artillery onto the Indians around the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir right here. Moving on from that clip, we also were able to see another Pakistani MLRS system firing at the Indians across the border. Do they do like the pep talk thing before every launch?
Looks like it.
We finally see it firing here. This appears to be a PHL-81 Azar, a 120mm MLRS used by the People's Republic of China and also sold to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. We now see them running to the launcher. Go ahead.
Also, by the way, we are getting more confirmation right now. It appears to be an Indian journalist who apparently lives in Amritsar inside of India. He is now also confirming that there is a dogfight, literally an old school, like movie style dogfight between fighter jets above Srinagar. So that is apparently confirmed right now by targets on the ground, or not targets, excuse me, by reporters on the ground, that there is an old school dogfight above that city right now. Also, I'm seeing another source, the Pakistan Observer, is also reporting that as well. So it appears to be multiple different engagements amongst different fighter jets from Pakistan and India above that area. And apparently they're firing missiles and also machine gun fire at each other based on what we're hearing right now. So quite crazy. Once again, a pretty large dogfight going on.
Man, I got to be honest with you. Modern day dogfight, like, are they actually like? Let me go see here these reports. Dogfight. Let's see. Dogfight over Srinagar. Everyone's saying that there is an active dogfight over Srinagar. Sorry, really quickly, let me move this up to Srinagar because I actually put an Amritsar there. So there is an active dogfight ongoing right now over the city of Srinagar from multiple reports now. My question though, Matthew, is what the hell kind of a dogfight is this? Like, in the modern kind of an air combat world, that doesn't happen. Like, that literally just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it hadn't happened in a long time. And, they just set a record just a day or two ago for one of the longest dogfights in a very long time in modern history. So they appear to be engaging in like old style, literal dogfights like we haven't seen in a long time.
The last time, folks, by the way, this is why I'm finding this a little bit hard to believe. The last time that legitimate dogfights really happened in air combat history was really in Vietnam. Now, some people will say that some dogfights did occur over the skies of Iraq during the 1991 Gulf War and also during the Iran-Iraq War, but the reality is that those are largely dubious and largely don't have a lot of confirmed reports behind them to actually confirm that those dogfights really did happen. Usually, most of the time, those were still beyond visual range engagements, even in the Iran-Iraq War, meaning that the last time we saw legitimate guns-only dogfights occurring would have been in the war in Vietnam about 50 to 60 years ago at this point. So a little bit of a stretch to say that there is an active dogfight going on over Srinagar. Not to say that's impossible, it's just that it would be the first time in about 60 years that anything like that has ever happened at all. Another thing that would be interesting about that is the kind of aircraft that would be involved, because this would actually be the first time that we've ever seen a visual range dogfight occur between modern fourth generation aircraft. If, say, a JF-17 or a Rafale or a Su-30 or an F-16 were involved in this dogfight, this is the first time that we actually would have ever heard of a visual range, guns-only dogfight occurring between any aircraft in modern air combat for the past 55, 60 years or so. And
also, we never really got confirmation about how these aircraft, the Indian aircraft that got shot down by Pakistan or either crashed, one or the other, we never got confirmation about how they were actually taken down out of the sky. We didn't hear if it was air defense. We didn't hear if it was a dogfight like this is the reason why they got shot down by other aircraft. We just didn't really find out why, at least according to what I heard. So maybe they actually are shooting each other's aircraft down, and maybe they are engaging in some form of what we would call in the old days a dogfight between these fighter jets.
The one thing, though, is that dogfight has been heavily misused already by both sides earlier, because they said that the largest dogfight in history occurred with 125 planes, and it didn't, because they called it a dogfight, but what it really was just an air battle or a air combat engagement. It wasn't technically a dogfight, because a dogfight, let me go see if I can pull up a dogfight or a World War I. Well, not really a World War I dogfight, but we'll just put in dogfight with planes so that we can give you all a little bit of an idea of what that actually is. This would be an actual dogfight. This is actually what's called the merge here, and this is in the middle of Top Gun training. So this F-16 is sitting in as an adversary aircraft, and the F-14 is actually supposed to be operating as a friendly U.S. aircraft. But nevertheless, a dogfight is actually within visual range and largely guns only, or you're using some form of Fox 3, which would be the infrared homing missiles, such as the AIM-9s that we can see here that are dummies on board this F-16. That's what a dogfight is. A beyond visual range air combat engagement is not a dogfight. It is a totally different thing. And so saying dogfight while meaning a beyond visual range aerial combat engagement is a totally different kind of a thing. So that may be what's happening over Srinagar, but I have been able to hear from Matthew that we actually have footage of an Indian supply depot being directly hit at this moment. So really quickly, let's get to that.
And also, before we get to that footage, by the way, apparently Indian media is now reporting 6 loud blasts above the city of Srinagar, which is where the dogfight's allegedly happening. Also, we are getting some more reports of the dogfight. So there are definitely fighter jets above the skies of that Indian city doing something, and they say dogfighting, but they're definitely up there, and they're apparently shooting each other. They're also firing missiles at the ground, and there's also very loud blasts being heard. So the blast, we don't know if that's maybe a jet being shot down or maybe somebody firing something at the ground. We do not know, but the media and also eyewitnesses are saying they're hearing very loud blasts in very frequent succession near Srinagar. So also we're hearing as well another report while that's happening, the Pakistani drones are apparently flying toward the Indian capital city of New Delhi, and apparently they're spotted over the skies of New Delhi at the moment. We don't have video evidence of it, so take that part with a grain of salt, but I'm currently looking for some backup evidence to prove that that is the case.
And we were able to see here in this clip that in the small town of Uri, only several miles away from the line of contact, it's not really a line of control anymore, it's more so a direct front line, we were able to see inside of the city of Uri that there was a major supply depot explosion on the Indian side, which we can see in this clip right here.
Good.
There's heavy fog and cloud cover in the area, but we can confirm that those explosions are on the ridge side near to the town of Uri, confirming that Pakistan has hit a supply depot within the Indian-controlled area of Jammu and Kashmir, confirming a direct hit by the Pakistanis. This is not an incredibly long-range hit, mind you. This is only about 4 miles across the border, and if we were to assume that Indian artillery were operating at their maximum range, or possibly even closer than that, this wasn't a real long-range hit. This is more so something that could be directly conducted by Pakistani artillery batteries within the area, but thus confirming a direct hit on an ammunition cache close to the border. We have also been able to hear, at least at the moment, that there are drones spotted over New Delhi, but also, I have to put out that the person who posted that is called Pakistan Observer, possibly showing a little bit of bias there. And also, we haven't even heard of these drones flying over the rest of India to make it to New Delhi in the first place. So we haven't heard of any drones flying over Punjab or Haryana or Delhi, the Delhi region itself. So might be a little bit of a stretch on that one because we don't have any video and picture evidence. But if we do have video and picture evidence, then we will be showing that here and confirming that that is an event that happened. By the way, I also was able to hear in a side note that apparently a new pope was elected in Uri due to the white smoke coming from the supply depot. But what do we got, Matthew?
So right now, I do have some video evidence. This is sort of going back to an earlier story that we covered earlier of the BrahMos storage site in Bees being hit by the Pakistanis. The Pakistan Strategic Forum has uploaded a video claiming to show on-the-ground footage of the BrahMos storage site being hit, and it appears to be very strongly on fire. This does show, indeed, the Bees attack. So take this with a grain of salt, but we can take a look at the footage and see if we can either debunk it or prove it true or false and see if this is accurate.
So let's take ourselves a little gander. We actually put it down on the map right here, so I'll bring y'all over here. And this appears to be, at least from what they're saying, the Bees attack. So let's take a gander at this clip and see what we can see. And also, I'll try and see if we can geolocate anything that was seen in this clip. You see here that, actually, that does say right down there, Military Station Bees. And that
sure
is
does.
yeah, that's the correct spelling and everything. So that is actually a video from Bees right here. See here the cameraman looking around. We see a
and
fire.
there's the fire.
Yeah, we see a fire glowing somewhere. Let me see if we can actually find that sign on the streets near Bees and see if we can actually get an idea of specifically where that was. So, if we were to assume that it was the military station at Bees, it probably would be somewhere around here. Or, where would it be around this place? Let me just drop down. Do we have a street view through here? We do. So, let me take a look around. Is that a Royal Enfield? That kind of looks like one. Anyways, let's see here. Oh, this looks like the beginning of the base, possibly. So let's see what we can see through here. So, This does actually appear to be the beginning of the base in this area. So it actually may have been this area right over here, because that actually looks quite close to it. Well, let me move around and let me see if we can see a sign here that would say anything about the Bees military complex down the street. Let's see here. Not seeing a sign, at least within the specific area, but the buildings are matching up, at least similarly in this clip, because from what we can see right here, they're looking over a street. There's a highway in front of them with lampposts, actually, which looks to be a larger sort of a built-up road. Possibly this one, as a matter of fact, or it could also be this one as well. Could be this one. But it does appear that they are looking down and into the area of somewhere around here, and it looks like there was some kind of a hit, at least in the area. So we can confirm that the Bees attack did hit something, but it doesn't appear to be a fire that was large enough to be a Brahmo-sized ammunition explosion from one of the hardened shelters, because it's coming from within what appears to be a built-up area of residential buildings or barracks, and once again, the fire isn't wildly out of control, which we would expect with an ammunition fire, and we're also not seeing thick white smoke bellowing from it, which would also be an indicative fact of it being an ammunition explosion. So we can confirm that there is a fire and there was some kind of an impact at Bees, but it doesn't look like it was directly on the ammunition stowage if we were to take this video at face value.
It does look like that. Also, by the way, we can't show this video, unfortunately, and I'm not going to repost it because, unfortunately, it does have a pretty big watermark of a pretty large news organization on it, so we really can't show that on the stream without running into copyright issues. But smoke has been spotted rising after a loud explosion in Rajouri in India. And I can confirm, I'm looking at the video right now, it's a very large plume of smoke in Rajouri. So I'm not sure where that is on the map, but if we can take a look and see where that is, that would be a huge help. It's Rajouri.
Rajouri. That actually would, if it's Rajouri Garden, which is what I'm assuming, let's just put in Rajouri and see what we get. So Rajouri itself would actually be in the Jammu and Kashmir region again. So it does appear that there are a large amount of impacts that are currently happening right now, pretty much from the entire length of Jammu all the way up to Srinagar itself, and pretty much all the way up to the town of Poonch, which is in the Poonch Valley area. So there is a significant number of artillery strikes, explosions, and airstrikes that are all being simultaneously conducted at this point by Pakistan inside of Indian-controlled Jammu and Kashmir. So a pretty significant thing, and that appears to be another attack that has occurred. Unfortunately, we cannot show y'all that one for copyright reasons. We could get in a decent amount of trouble from the person who published that clip originally. But nevertheless, we have also been able to hear, at least in additional news, to try and get y'all through everything that we have. And honestly, this is getting a little bit overwhelming, Matthew, because I don't know if you've looked up at the map on the live stream lately, but this is quite psychotic looking. Like, there's literally like 60 clips that we have at this point of multiple
different things.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, the lot's developing right now here on stream. We haven't even really been able to get to any of the news that we've had so far before we even went live right now. So I'll be trying to catch us up with that in the intermittent segment. Hopefully, this is kind of can be considered that, although there's still a lot of news coming out from literally everywhere. We were able to hear that Pakistani helicopters were operating in the fields just north of Lahore today, which we can see right here. We've also been able to hear that Lahore was christened that because of Chris's mom, though we can see the helicopters flying around the northern area of the plains, of course flying quite low and incredibly fast.
Also, by the way, I am also seeing out of the same region in the Rajouri region, which we just looked at on the map and near the Kashmir region. We did see the black smoke rising from the area of Rajouri. I'm now also seeing video from the same news organization, which we sadly can't show on the stream. It's from a very large news organization that would definitely copyright us if we showed it. Homes are being damaged in Rajouri after a continuous series of explosions after the start of the Pakistan counterattack. So it looks like a residential area has been struck in Rajouri, and it's very bad. Like, it's some pretty extreme damage. And of course, I would be very surprised if there weren't some type of civilian casualties with this being so close to a residential area and also hitting homes. But it looks like there has been some pretty bad devastation in Rajouri. So probably casualties involved.
Very interesting here, very unfortunate as well. But it does appear that we can confirm that major action is still occurring pretty much all the way from the area of Uri all the way down to Jammu at this point, along the entire line of control or the line of contact, either way you want to call it. Beyond that, we were able to hear earlier that there were explosions that were occurring in Amritsar, which I believe we already covered. I'm just making sure to touch all of our bases at this point on all of the news that we've had so far. And we also were able to hear at the exact same time more additional news that was coming from the city of Lahore itself, as we were able to see that Pakistani anti-aircraft guns were active around the city earlier today in this clip right here. And that's the end of that clip, but still, once again, showing us that apparently there was active air activity over Lahore. We also were able to see that armor mobilization was occurring several hours ago by the Pakistanis as they continue to move more armored forces closer to the border, near to the Indian city of Amritsar inside of Punjab, India. Meanwhile, we also were able to see inside of Lahore that there were more explosions that were still occurring hours ago as India was continuing to attack the city, which we can see right here. Looks like new popes are getting elected everywhere in India and Pakistan. White smoke is billowing from just about every single corner in both countries, and so it is quite obvious at this point, and it's quite insane how many strikes are actually landing on both sides. We've never really seen this so far in the Ukraine war, or really in the Israeli conflict. We always see that maybe an errant missile here and there gets through, but we don't see that almost every single attack has successful hits every single time. Meanwhile, moving on from that and up into the area of Jalapur Jatan, we were also able to see that air defense was active here as well.
आप यहाँ पर जो है अभी भारतीय ड्रोन है जिसको गिराने के चक्कर में जो जलालपुर जट्टा की छावनी है वो जो है वो अब फायरिंग कर रही है और ये आप देख सकते हैं यार ये वीडियो बना ले
We can see the air defense continuing to fire into the distance.
यार ये है कौन ड्रोन नहीं नजर आ रहा
That's the end of that clip, but moving on even farther over and into the area of Karachi, we also were able to hear something quite significant here, and I had to do a decent amount of research before we went on air, and I'll explain really quickly why. It's been because of the amount of Pakistani and Indian bots who have been coming in and pretty much attacking the validity of our channel, and something that we always have to point out here that's a little bit important is that we are a YouTube channel, but we also are a business at the exact same time, and we largely pride ourselves as a major selling point of our news coverage as a business on the factuality and the detail that we're able to get into. When people in mass from India or Pakistan, or bots in mass who are representing India and Pakistan, come in here onto the channel and they are trying to attack the validity of our news coverage, they are pretty much attacking the very base foundation of our entire business model itself, which is largely making sure that our news is as accurate as possible. And those people are pretty much spreading slander, trying to attempt to damage our reputation because we're reporting the actual facts, and some of them don't like the facts. Beyond that, for that reason, that's why we had to do a lot of research, because there were many things that were being misstated. And I gotta say, out of the two sides, so far, both of them are spreading about as much misinformation and propaganda as the other. It appears that both are attempting to try and completely control a propaganda narrative that is completely fictional on both ends. Pakistan wants it to appear that they are winning absolutely and there's absolutely nothing going wrong. And on the other hand, India also wants to appear that they are winning absolutely and that there is quite truly nothing wrong that is happening back to India. On the other hand, the reality is that both of them really can't defend attacks worth a damn, and both of them are taking pretty significant hits from the other, and also both sides have taken some decent losses at this point. That's really the reality of the situation, and whenever we say that, there's a decent amount of people who, will come in and try and make sure to take a shot at us, either from a bot farm or actual people from these two countries, because they don't like to hear the reality of the situation. So I made sure to do a lot of research on the Karachi attack to try and figure out what actually happened with this earlier, and it does appear that there was a significant attack that occurred on the second largest cantonment in the entirety of the world, which is the city of Carrion. But before we get into that, I have actually been able to hear that we have more footage that has come out so far on Twitter at this moment about the missiles landing in Indian-controlled Kashmir inside of Jammu. It actually appears that a Pakistani missile landed outside of the Op Shambhu Temple, holy site in Jammu, and it appears that there is a decent amount of debris that's been scattered across the area. So really quickly, I'll be getting y'all this clip right here. And once again, this is coming from inside of the city of Jammu. You see a decent amount of debris, of course, from the Pakistani missile exploding just outside the holy site. But that's the end of the clip, and we could also hear an explosion at the end, once again confirming what sounds to largely actually have been artillery fire, at least a larger caliber artillery shell that landed somewhere off in the distant area. But nevertheless, moving on from that news in Jammu, and just a couple of dozen miles away, once again back to Carrion, you can actually see the significant size of the Carrion military cantonment. This entire thing, as a matter of fact, this entire city, for the large part right here, is actually a major military base that houses tens of thousands of Pakistani soldiers. We do understand that this city came under attack from Indian forces earlier in the day, and we were able to confirm that the base actually did end up getting hit. We can see air defense firing up from the cantonment, and we were able to later confirm in this clip right here that the cantonment was hit. Actually, sorry, that's actually a duplicate clip right there, so we're going to be deleting that one. Actually didn't notice that when I was putting it together. We usually try and cut down on duplicate clips as much as we can here on the channel, but we were able to hear that apparently the Carrion cantonment was hit, although there was a lot of misinformation that was going around out there on the internet. A lot of Indian accounts were stating that the Pakistani Corps headquarters was hit in Carrion, which is untrue. I went and looked specifically today at the Pakistani Army's core structure and headquarters for their corps, and there is absolutely no core headquarters inside of Carrion. It is a large military base and cantonment, yes, but the actual core that is based out of this facility, their headquarters are elsewhere in another city several dozen miles away. So for that reason, there was no military headquarters that was hit here, and there's absolutely no chance that that could have happened. But nevertheless, moving on from that news and further on up and into the area of the actual capital of Islamabad, we were able to hear that Pakistan earlier today was making it quite clear that they are not going to be de-escalating with India, as a direct statement from the Pakistan Army. We also were able to hear more fiery rhetoric from the Pakistani government today, and an official tweet by the government of Pakistan. They stated that the Pakistani nation will not be intimidated by India's cunning and aggression. India should now prepare for Pakistan's response. Long live Pakistan, and long live the Pakistan Army. So it does appear that Pakistan is quite truly treating this as a state of war. There's absolutely no reversing of that whatsoever, and we have also been able to see that directly along the line of contact, or the line of control, throughout the course of the entire day. But beyond that, I have also been able to hear that a lot of people have been talking at this moment, speaking about those kinds of Pakistani statements, about the room for de-escalation. And a lot of people have been asked the question, is there any room for de-escalation between India and Pakistan at this point in the war? And it appears that the simple majority, 51%, quite literally, are saying that it's escalated too far at this point for there to be any kind of de-escalation efforts, at least for now. And so, Matthew, what are people thinking, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so 51% of the audience said no, it's been too far escalated now to simply back down, while 35% said yes, the two parties can still de-escalate, and 14% were unsure. And I would say at this point, this is honestly, at this point, I would say a full-scale war. This is no way to de-escalate out of this. It has gotten so severe that they're now targeting each other's capitals, because we are getting some more reports that apparently there are loitering munitions or drones flying toward New Delhi, or they're near New Delhi. So once again, we're waiting on video evidence of that to prove that on video. But they are escalating this really rapidly, to the point where there's really no point of return. So I'm going to say there's really not any room left for de-escalation. The Pakistanis are making wild statements, and the Indians are making wild statements. They're also targeting things that you probably wouldn't want to target, like their missile storage sites, if you wanted to de-escalate the whole situation. So I'm actually with the 51%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to be with the 51% as well. I don't really think there's any room for de-escalation. Both sides have gone into a full state of war and have not even conducted any attempts at negotiation negotiations to de-escalate this at any single moment. So I would largely say, absolutely not. There is no room for de-escalation. This is going well on above and beyond anything that is controllable, at least at this point. But moving us on into the remainder of the clips that we have from India and Pakistan, at least for now, so that way we can have a little bit of a break here from the news, so that way we can get into chit-chat with all of y'all about what's going on. But we're going to save that for a minute and get through the rest of the clips that we had. We were able to hear that hours earlier in the day, there actually was air defense action happening over Jammu already before the attacks we just heard of a few hours ago. Well, actually just about 30 minutes ago. We were able to hear the air raid sirens. You also hear someone playing a pan flute for some reason out there. That was the smallest car that I've ever seen right there. Did you see that, Matthew?
Yeah, it was a compact there. That was a tiny car.
Dude, that's like the one that Jeremy Clarkson, like, custom made, where it was, like, only big enough to fit him. Like, that is tiny right there. Anyways, moving on from that clip in Jammu, we also were able to hear further on up and into the area of the region of Srinagar that there was also a decent amount of action that was occurring here. We were able to see air defense fire being conducted near Srinagar earlier in the day. We're not going to be showing that clip, but if you want to see it, you can go click on the link in the description below. We were able to hear that explosions were reported at the Srinagar airport, around 10 of them, although we didn't get any video and picture evidence later on. And we were able to see that a blackout was conducted after the strike, which we could see in this clip right here. Moving on out of these clips from inside of the major cities within Jammu and Kashmir, we also were able to see along the line of contact that the Indians were hitting Pakistani forces earlier in the day, and according to Indian reports, this attack resulted in the deaths of around 7 Pakistani soldiers, which we can see on this clip right here. Here in a second, we'll see the Indians get a direct hit onto their forces, which we can see in this clip right here. We can see them directly hitting this outpost or facility. And that's the end of the clip. But nevertheless, moving on from that and on into our next clip, we also were able to hear further down the line that intense fires were starting to break out throughout the region as artillery shelling was actually catching the underbrush on fire and starting to create major fires throughout the region. We also were able to see even further down the line that there was also a significant amount of action that was also occurring. For example, a Indian outpost was hit by a Russian Kornet system operated by the Pakistanis today. Getting out the shitty copyright-free, like, boom sound effect, we did get to see the direct hit right there, and we can see the Indian flag flying off the outpost from the hit. Moving on from that clip and even further on down the line, but actually that was the last clip right there. I want to make sure to get a hold of that one and make sure to show it there. But nevertheless, at this moment, it does appear, all things considered, this war is definitely on. There's really no doubt about that one. We've just gotten done covering about 40 or 50 clips that have come through so far. And on top of that, we also have additional news that has come out so far. So Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so we have gotten some more information. We've gotten information from ANI, which I believe is the Asian News something, I believe it's called. I'm not very familiar with the agency, but I know it's a very big one over there in Asia. So they are saying that at least 4 Pakistan air bases have been targeted by Indian strikes in their newest retaliation. So that's currently what we're hearing. And also, don't play the top video, by the way, but we're hearing that the additional deputy commissioner of Rajouri, who's Kumar Thapa, has apparently been killed during the Pakistan Army strikes, according to the reports we're hearing right now. So that's a hell of a hit right there on that guy if he is indeed taken out. And once again, a high-profile individual within the city of Rajouri that is alleged to have been taken out by this missile strike. So quite severe indeed. And also we're hearing about more Indian strikes on the Pakistani bases. So quite severe attacks.
And it does sound like major, serious attacks are occurring in multiple places at this point, and we've also been able to hear of a high-ranking Indian death, at least at this moment, from one of the prior Pakistani airstrikes. So it does occur. It does once again appear at this moment. Also, Matthew, can you unpost that clip at the top that we can't show, because it pretty much makes it impossible for me to do anything on Twitter with it there. Considering we could get copyrighted if I click on or show the Twitter at any point. So it does appear that at this moment there is a major action occurring throughout the entirety of the Republic of India and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan as the strikes are continuing. But nevertheless, we
do have some more breaking news that just came in literally right this second. Right now, we are hearing that Srinagar is under air raid by Pakistani jets, and we're hearing that from NDTV, and they're saying that they're under air raid by PAF fighters, and they are going to apparently be having coverage live on their news network showing this air raid in action. Also, in another respect, we're getting some more breaking news as well. Let me jump to it. This piece of breaking news here, while the Twitter is really slow to load, we are getting more reports of Geo News citing security sources of a swarm of Pakistan drones in Delhi's airspace, which is the capital of India. So apparently more confirmation there are indeed drones flying in Delhi that are Pakistani, and it's unclear what they're hitting or if they've actually struck a target just yet, but they are apparently in the airspace in New Delhi, which of course is a massive escalation because that is the capital of India, and that's a pretty decent ways to go for those drones.
That is a significant way to travel for those drones. Interesting to hear that we didn't hear anything about them traveling over the whole of India to get there, but still fairly interesting to hear. Nevertheless, it does appear that there is an ongoing air raid, which may have led to the dogfights that occurred over Srinagar, and hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of video or picture evidence here in a little bit on that one. But beyond that, I do want to make sure that we get on into some questions for a moment. We've been covering news nonstop for about an hour and a half at this point, and I do want to make sure to take a little bit of a breather here for a moment to get to chit-chat with all of y'all. Thank the folks who are also supporting the channel massively tonight and helping us to make this kind of news coverage possible, and also give myself a minute to mentally collect my thoughts, because we have been going at 100 miles an hour and having to literally put together the story as it's coming out live on air. These streams are always fun, but they're also mentally taxing and exhausting as well, because usually I have a lot of prep time before a show to know what I'm going to be talking about and pretty much have kind of like a rehearsed idea of what I'm going to be doing. These kinds of shows, I have no clue. So we're literally doing everything by the seam of our pants while we're live on air. And also, one other thing, by the way, I got to put this out there because, you got to love it. You always got people coming in here saying that it didn't happen. America did report that Pakistan did shoot down Indian jets, 2 of them. So that did happen. Like, if America's saying it happened, I can promise you it happened. So with that, hope that does address that somewhat well. And Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our first super chat of the night. This one goes to none other than Chris's mom. And thank you very much, Chris's mom, for that extremely generous $100 donation. And Chris's mom is loaded. Thank you very much, Chris's mom, for that support. They said India and Pakistan have been fighting for decades, but the only real peace treaty ever signed was when both sides agreed to stop visiting Chris's mom at the same time.
I got to thank you for the massive support and also throwing in a joke like this on a night like this. That's actually pretty good. And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it running. And so a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can. And that was a pretty funny joke, I gotta admit. But folks like you and your massive support are helping this channel to keep on running and making this thing possible. And we always get to point that out, and we always get to give a huge thanks to folks who are supporting this channel, because nobody has to, but the folks who go out of their way to do that are making this entire thing a reality each and every day for hundreds of thousands of people who are watching the stream. Sadly, my midday video has ended up dying a sad, painful death because we went live so early in its runtime. So it is pretty much leveled out at like no views, 110,000 views. That's still a lot actually, but compared to our other videos, it isn't really that much. And you can actually see, Matthew, on its graph that it literally died as soon as we went live. Like, it's going to be stuck there for the rest of its life because we went live.
That poor thing.
Yeah, poor thing. I mean, sorry. Like, it was a good video too. I actually did a lot of research for that one as well today, and things happen. Whatever happens. You know what I mean? But beyond that, I do thank you so much for the support, Chris's mom, and helping this channel keep on running. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, it is time for us to move on to the next one.
All right. And our next super chat goes to none other than Nick Hines. And thank you very much, Nick, for that very generous as well $100 donation. And we appreciate that, Nick, very much. And thanks for helping to keep the channel running. And he said, keep up the good work. And do you think that the war will last long based off Pakistan's and India's economies?
I would say yes. I actually think that this war could last a good while, even if Pakistan is largely cut off from the outside world through a naval blockade. I actually think they could hang in for several months or years, depending on if they're able to take control of the flow of water in Jammu and Kashmir into the Indus River. So this actually might be going on for a pretty good long while. And so I have to tell a lot of folks who are here tonight, get ready for this to be, whether folks like it or not, a fairly common thing that we cover. I got to say this, though. I can guarantee y'all that at least for the foreseeable future, this is going to be the last emergency stream that we run for a while. I mean, big things could happen inside of this whole situation, but considering that this is a war just like the Ukraine-Russian war, and we don't run breaking news streams for that, 24/7, we're going to get back to our normal stream coverage and time window that we've always been in, which is 10 p.m. Eastern time, because getting on early throws a lot of people off kilter because they don't get their normal nightly show because it went on hours early, and also another reason is that if this is just going to be a daily war, big things can happen, and we can just cover it all along with the Ukraine war and everything else happening in the world during our nightly news segment, instead of having to try and go out of our way to cover this as a special segment, at least at this moment. Unless if something crazy happens, like a nuke is flung or something like that, we're just going to cover everything at our normal times. So short war videos will run at their normal times, and also our long war streams like these, the global news streams, will be running at their normal times from this point on. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because while if it wasn't for folks like you who threw in that massive kind of support, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't have been able to be here to see the outbreak of so many different wars around the world, and also a brand new one between Pakistan and India. But still, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and thank you once again for the massive support, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we would have never been able to make this thing possible and keep it rolling. So a huge thanks to you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our last one of the segment is going to go to none other than Melinda Grifford Vaughn, who puts in a very generous $50 donation. And thank you very much, Melinda, as well, for that $50 support and also helping to keep the channel running. And Melinda said, here's to being always on it with the news. An awesome job. And LLT LSA, and please take a live chat question.
And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And my God, man, I wish I could show you this one. This is entirely DCS world. I've never seen one that's been this bad, but I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I was actually getting onto Twitter there just for a brief moment to try and get back over to our profile, but I got to thank you so much for enjoying this channel and being here with us and helping us to keep this thing running time and time again, Melinda Grifford Vaughn, because you are an old guard and a channel legend, and I got to say that it's wonderful to know that you are here to always have it being brought on, because we are bringing on the big news every single day at this point. But of course, along live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die, and we will make sure to grab a live chat question in your honor, Melinda Grifford Vaughn. And so with that, Matthew, what do we have?
All right, so the live chat question is going to go to Judy from the live chat, who said, what are your thoughts on Pakistan or India end up using nukes?
Pakistan and India using nukes, it actually might happen. I would say in any area of the world, this is probably the highest likelihood that it could happen, because these two countries have a hatred for each other I've quite truly never seen anywhere in the world. Most countries kind of like skirt around the idea of getting into a full-scale war. These countries had a half-good excuse to do that, and they went for it immediately. I've never seen that before. That's actually kind of a little bit crazy. So I would say that the chances of a nuclear conflict breaking out, especially considering that Pakistan pretty much has a ticking time bomb right now on, of course, the running out of the life's blood of everything on the planet, which is water, they might actually start to conduct nuclear actions against India, possibly within months. So I would say that in this specific conflict, the chances of a nuclear war are actually probably around 30 to 40%, just at the base scenario that we're seeing right now. So I hope that does address that live chat well, and I thank you once again, Melinda Grifford Vaughn, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running and make this thing possible. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. Hope that does address that incredibly well, And of course, we are going to be moving on, I would say, back into the news, but the big thing is that we've kind of covered most of the news, for the large part, at least at this point, that happened in India and Pakistan, and also our news segment went on for about a normal stream length, and we don't want to kill ourselves trying to run these streams for 5 hours a day when emergency streams break out. It also appears that there hasn't been a major outbreak of additional news as well, and really quickly, I wanted to show y'all something, because I've just never seen stuff like this being propagated, and I wanted to give you all a little bit of an idea, at least of what's going on out there, because as soon as I open up Twitter, this is the kind of stuff that's going on out there that's kind of being pushed with the propaganda from both sides. But this is some Pakistani propaganda right here that I just have to show, Matthew, because this is absolutely insane. There's no watermark on it, but the person who posted this said, this is not a movie scene. It is happening in real life. This is entirely not a movie scene. This is from a video game. But here's the clip, just to show y'all what they're saying is happening in real life. So we can see what appears to be some sort of a MiG-29, which the Pakistanis don't even use MiG-29s, mind you, dropping a bomb, which then turns into a missile, and then explodes onto a power plant. The aircraft also did some kind of a Puchikev Cobra, which it shouldn't have been able to do, and then pick up that kind of speed afterwards. For some reason, they're also popping chaff and flares, because this is all in DCS world, so, you know, kind of the catch there. I mean, this is absolutely insane, dude, that they're actually, like, people are actually trying to push this as real. But this is the kind of propaganda that we're dealing with both sides. And the Pakistani government actually published some Arma 3 footage earlier today as official footage of them shooting down an Indian jet. But this is the kind of propaganda that is coming out from both sides. And what is ridiculous is that both of these countries are demanding that we take this kind of stuff at face value and run with it. Like, that's the crazy thing, because from what we're knowing, we're not really sure about this. India may have actually banned our Twitter today across the entirety of their country for spreading, according to them, misinformation that is detrimental to national security and defense interests of India. That's what largely the statement was. We actually got to see that some larger Twitter accounts than ours actually were on that list and have been banned in India so far, and it appears that we may have been included in that list. We're not entirely sure yet. We've reached out to Twitter to see if we have been, because it wouldn't really be out of the question to say that we have been included in that list. A little bit interesting to see that, because, you know, we haven't done anything that is inherently against the interest of India's security interests, rather than just cover the news. So if covering the news is detrimental to the security interest, well, then we're probably dangerous to India, because we're just going to keep doing that. But beyond that, I mean, like, this stuff is outrageous right here. It truly is insane that people are trying to push this as real deal footage. I mean, look,
it's ridiculous. I saw the Pakistanis actually repost this. Is this the video from the Pakistani official account?
This is just some clip from someone who apparently is a Pakistani, I'm believing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's awful right there, man. Also, did you repost that?
I reposted it just to show it, and now I'm unposting it because, like, we're not having that garbage on our Twitter. But also, by the way, the Twitter is exploding. It's like gaining like 100 followers a minute at this point. But beyond that, that's kind of been a little bit of a situation that we've had to deal with in the background to a degree. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, if we are included on the ban list for Twitter accounts from India, we don't really know yet. We still haven't gotten an answer from Twitter to know. But it seems like there's a decent chance that we may have been included. That is going to really be a little bit insulting, considering that we have not covered anything that's untrue. We are just covering the news. And also, another thing that I want to point out is that the Indians also stated today that, and I just want to show you the clip here, the Indian Foreign Ministry has accused Pakistan of multiple airspace violations, reporting up to 400 Turkish-made drones launched overnight across 36 line-of-control sites. Now, I do want to point out to y'all that Turkey just joined, not really joined the conflict, but diplomatically supported Pakistan in the current situation just yesterday. So with that in mind, it's a little bit weird to me that they said that 400 Turkish-made drones specifically were launched, and not just 400 drones in general. And also, how did they know that all 400 of them were Turkish? There's a lot of things that were made in this statement here that just are entirely untrue. And if there were 400 drones launched, that would have been the largest drone attack in history. And we don't even have any proof that a major drone attack happened at all. We were able to confirm that drone attacks were happening, but not one that even got close to having 80 to 120 drones involved. It appears that it was somewhere around 60 instead, meaning that this statement here is just entirely dubious and was stated today by the Indian Foreign Ministry as an actual factual claim, much like Pakistan was also stating today that Arma 3 footage was actual real frontline combat footage. Like, it's just absolutely crazy the amount of misinformation that is coming out of both countries officially at this point, and it's really making it tough for us to have to go through and pretty much make sure that we have receipts in at least 9 different ways for every single thing that's happening over there, because we cannot trust either Pakistan or India to actually tell us what's really going on. They're so far away from the truth, both of them are, that there quite literally is no chance at all of really getting a true story from either side at this point. But with that, I hope that does address that at least the best I can, in my opinion. And while we would like to get back to news coverage, our news coverage has gone on for quite a long time so far right now, and we do want to make sure to be able to round this thing out so that way we're not getting completely exhausted, at least to this point, covering 5 hours of news every day. So with that, we are going to get right back into the questions. So what do we got, Matthew?
And also, before we get too deep into the super chat segment real quick, I do want to mention 2 pieces of Ukraine-Russian news that we did get today that were pretty large before we move on to the question segment. We did get today, also, by the way, let's say this first of all, the Victory Day parade did occur. Nothing happened at that parade. We did see, of course, that Xi Jinping showed up and was visiting the parade in person and viewed the parade in person. Also, Putin actually showed up in person as well alongside Xi Jinping, because what better air defense can Russia get than simply having Xi Jinping at the parade? So Putin showed up. He was not on Zoom, and he watched it in person. So that was a bit of a shock. But there was no attack by the Ukrainians on the parade itself. So that one was not true. So no attack whatsoever. But the one thing we did see, though, is we did see a drone attack on a government building in Belgrade. And it looks like most likely a Ukrainian drone. I don't really know who else's drone it would be other than the Ukrainians. But we do have a video showing that attack on a Kremlin building, or excuse me, a Russian building in Belgrade. So, unfortunately, I did repost that at the top if you want to take a look, and we can show that to the audience.
Yes, this is the Belgrade governor's office here. And apparently the deputy governor was wounded as well as a soldier in this attack as well. But we can see the drone hit the very top of the building, pretty much the ornament work at the top. We also got to see in another clip that the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine is stating that there's a security alert for the embassy due to an impending major air attack. And we've also been able to hear that a NOTAM has been issued around the Kasputin Yar launch facility just north of Ottobinsk, where the Ottobinsk Airfield is, possibly suggesting that the Russian Federation is preparing to fire an Oreshnik intermediate range ballistic missile at the capital of Kyiv here soon, most likely with inert warheads once again. But that seems to be a high likelihood it could happen. So we are waiting to see what will be occurring here in the next couple of days, if an airstrike will happen or not, and if it includes an Oreshnik. But that's the information that we have so far coming from Ukraine. But with that,
that's a disturbing one. That's a disturbing one right there, because the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv rarely ever issues a pre-alert about an upcoming significant Russian air attack. That is somewhat rare, and they told people to get ready for a significant one in the next couple of days, and they never really do that. So that's quite disturbing to hear. And also combined with the information that Russia is closing the Kapustin Yar test range airspace on May the 12th and 13th, which is just a couple of days away, kind of lining up with the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv's warning sign that they put out. That is quite disturbing. And once again, we've heard some rattling and some statements from the Russian administration that they want to launch a Oreshnik at Kyiv this time. And last time they launched an Oreshnik at a different Ukrainian city. This time they want to launch one at Kyiv. So it's unclear if maybe they're feeling emboldened after the Victory Day parade to do something like that, or if it's connected whatsoever. But it certainly seems like it has a correlation to some degree, considering the time frame lines up perfectly.
Yeah, I would say that it actually does look like it may be the fact that there isn't a Oreshnik strike coming around, which is concerning. But we will make sure to have a lot more details for all of y'all on that tomorrow, because we're going to be getting back to our normal world news coverage at the normal stream time tomorrow, and we'll also be talking about that in great depth, because we'll be covering the past 48 hours of all the news that's been happening around the world. So that will include everything that didn't happen in India and Pakistan today, tomorrow. So with that, I hope that make sure to let all of y'all know that y'all will be getting a deeper scoop on all that tomorrow. But nevertheless, Matthew, what do we got?
So jumping into our first super chat, the last question segment here. This one goes to Howard Mendelson, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Howard, for that $50 support. And we do appreciate that. And Howard said the cyber attack just took down half the phone scammers. And take one from the chat.
Well, I thank you for the support, Howard Mendelson, and helping this channel to keep on running. It is folks like you who help to make this thing possible and help us to keep it rolling. And so a massive thanks to you so much once again. And we will make sure to take one from the live chat. And so what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
All right. So the question from the live chat is going to go to A-Team Possible, who said, are there Chinese military advisors assigned to Pakistan that are helping them carry out these attacks?
I would assume that there most likely is a Chinese military liaison in Pakistan that may be talking directly to the Pakistani Ministry of Defense. I would say that that's not out of the question at all, but really the question would be, are they providing an in-depth satellite and picture evidence to Pakistan to be able to help them conduct their strikes on India? And the answer to that might be no, because this war is so early on. Intelligence being provided to Pakistan at that kind of depth and level may take several days or weeks for that to be approved or actually start to happen in reality. So I would say yes, there is most likely a liaison that's keeping a constant line of communication open, but as far as intelligence provisions, I would say probably not. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one. But a huge thanks to you once again, Howard Mendelson, for sponsoring a live chat and helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, thank you very much, Howard, for that support. And also, by the way, we have some more breaking news coming out of India and Pakistan right now. We are getting word that apparently 2 Pakistan Air Force fighter jets attempting to carry out a strike were reportedly or allegedly shot down over Srinagar, according to a senior official from Indian's army or from the Indian army. And they were telling that to the local broadcaster NDTV. So take that with a grain of salt. That is coming from India's military, so it could be a lie, just like Pakistan lies as well. So right now we are hearing that, and we have seen here that outside of the claim by India that they shot down Pakistan's 2 fighter jets, we are also getting some unverified reports of an Indian Rafale fighter jet crashing in Pakistan's Sialkot city, and we actually have some video evidence that might suggest that is actually true. Another Rafale might have been shot down by Pakistan. We have a video here allegedly showing smoke on the ground, and it looks like something has been hit. So let's take a look.
ਸਵੇਰੇ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਡਿੱਗਾ ਵੇ ਭੰਗੀ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਭੰਗੀ ਦੇ 45 ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਭੰਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਪੈਲੀਆਂ 'ਚ
I'll be honest, we can't even tell what that is. It just looks like a small little, like, that's not even a massive fire or anything. That's just a really small little fire right there. We see a whole bunch of people gathered around, but that could be anything. I mean, this could just be like a bonfire of some kind with how small that fire is. So I don't know. Like, unless we actually see debris, it'll be a tough one to confirm. So with that, we have some unconfirmed reports of things going on right now, but nothing really confirmed in any instance for air losses so far. But with that, we are back on into the next one.
All right, and moving back into our super chat questions, we're moving into our next one, which goes to Jason Bewley, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Jason, for that $50 support. And Jason says, "You rock, gents." And thank you, Jason, for the kind words.
And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. I got to thank you so much for the kind words and the massive support, because folks like you help us to make this channel possible day in and day out, and help us to be able to make sure to cover the news as much as we can. Which I got to admit, folks, that while it's an amazing thing, running streams out of schedule gets me worn out, especially when we have to do breaking news ones where we're having to make the story live on air. So I got to thank you so much once again, because streams like these are actually pretty work intensive and mentally intensive, really more so. But I'm massively appreciative that so many people were here tonight and were able to enjoy this stream much like any other. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Carlos Santiago, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Carlos, for that $20 support and also helping keep the channel running. And we also had, in addition to Carlos 20, a 20 from Wubba as well, another longtime channel legend who said more coffee. And huge shout out to Wubba and Carlos for that $20 support. And we shall put that toward more coffee. We need to restock on coffee, actually. So we shall put it toward it. And thank you both very much. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much, Carlos Santiago and Wubba, for y'all support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because both of y'all are making this thing possible and helping us to make sure to keep the stream alive, to keep the Leaf Spring Army rolling, and to keep covering all of that news. It's an amazing thing to know that so many people have been here tonight and have enjoyed the stream once again. We actually reached a peak viewership of 11,000 people, and I've actually had 83,000 people watch the stream so far in about an hour and 56 minutes, which is a pretty impressive thing. And we, of course, got to thank everyone for being here once more and enjoying the stream and enjoying the news, because we, once again, I say this time and time again like a broken record, but we put a lot of effort, and we were really putting an overtime amount of effort into trying to validify everything that we're talking about, or validate everything that we're talking about in the Indian-Pakistan conflict, because so many people want to say that it's untrue because there's a lot of people trying to push a propaganda narrative. But we are entirely honored and appreciative to know that so many people have been enjoying the stream time and time again, over and over and over, and have really made it quite clear, both in the live chat and in the super chats, that people have been appreciating it greatly, how much effort we're putting into this and trying to cover the news. And so with that, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. But a huge thanks to both of y'all so much once again.
Yes, indeed. Also, by the way, we're getting a new report right now. We're hearing from the Spectator Index on Twitter that the New York Times is allegedly reporting that Indian officials are saying that Pakistan's military attempted aerial intrusions in 36 locations with 300 to 400 drones. So that is currently the scale of the attack, at least according to the Indians, of what Pakistan launched on their country. So that was actually a pretty decently big size attack for retaliation against India's attack on the base outside of Islamabad. So appears to be a very large scale. So Enforcer, what say you?
Actually, I think Matthew, that was something that happened way earlier in the day, because I actually have that same report right here. 36 line of control sites with 300, 400 drones. That actually lines up exactly. And this was put out at 9:25 in the morning, which was about about 12 hours ago at this point. So it looks like the New York Times is just citing what the Indian Foreign Ministry said from earlier in the day, which I'd still would say that report is highly dubious, because we didn't get any proof of any of those drones existing earlier in the day, or even conducting an attack at that kind of scale, or even air defense actions that would suggest an attack at that kind of scale, at least from what we were seeing, because they stated that this happened just a few hours before this press briefing here, like at the line of contact in Jammu and Kashmir. And we didn't see any of that actually happening. Like, we had no video or picture evidence to confirm any of that. We didn't hear of like hundreds of impacts. We didn't hear of hundreds of drones being shot down. They just said that 400 Turkish drones were launched over 36 line of control sites. And then there was really nothing else backing that up or adding on to that. So, a little bit weird with that one. And also another thing is that I saw someone earlier in the chat saying, well, the New York Times said that that actually happened. The New York Times said that Indian officials told them that that happened. The New York Times didn't say that definitely happened. So that seems to me to be just kind of saying what this said about 12 hours ago. So it seems like the New York Times was actually a little late to the punch. Well, I covered this like 9 hours ago in the short war video.
Oh. Oh, we got some more breaking news, though. We got some breaking news that is happening right this minute, though. We have just learned that Pakistan's prime minister has called for a meeting of the National Command Authority, also known as the NCA, which is a major and highly significant development amid escalating tensions with India. And this is coming from Geo Insider on Twitter, by the way. Also, for context, the NCA is Pakistan's top decision-making body responsible for the command, control, and oversight of the country's nuclear weapons and strategic forces. It's chaired by the prime minister and includes top civilian and military leadership. And convening the body is not routine, and it typically only happens during moments of serious national concern when strategic or nuclear posture might be under discussion. So that is a very big one right there. Pakistan is convening a command authority, which is only convened in times of desperate action. So that is quite bad to hear, actually. It doesn't suggest nuclear weapons right off the bat, even though that is generally what that command authority is used for. But it does mean that something very big is being decided right now because they're convening that. So whatever the case is, it could be nukes. Like, we can't rule that out. I know people are like, no, they're not going to do nukes. It could be, because that's what that command authority is used for. So Very disturbing. But Enforcer, what are your thoughts?
Very interesting. Certainly a major development. But it might just be something kind of like the Russians do every once in a while, where they change it where, oh, well, now our nuclear doctrine says that if these little assholes that we don't like attack us, then we could just nuke them. Like, it could be something like that, or it could be something major, like they're about to start deploying tactical nuclear weapons against the Indians immediately, which would be a little bit wild to see this early on. So it could be anything in between. We really don't know. But this is quite a severe meeting that's being held, at least in what it implies. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of it. But it certainly is a severe development, without a shadow of a doubt.
And also, let me clarify this, by the way. I'm reading some more about the National Command Authority inside of Pakistan to see exactly what it is used for. So, more clarification, this command authority is solely responsible for safeguarding the national security of Pakistan through command, control, and operational decisions, specifically regarding Pakistan's nuclear weapons program. So, that actually is a different description right there. That changes the equation just a little bit. This one right here, this command authority, the NCA, is specifically about nuclear weapons. So, that's even worse, because that means that the odds of what they're discussing being nuclear weapons just rose dramatically based on that description I just read. So that's tough right there. Now, once again, the meeting could simply be to discuss what their nuclear doctrine is really going to be in reality, and not necessarily an imminent action using nuclear weapons. But the fact they're assembling a body like that is, like I said, is disturbing.
That is quite disturbing, actually, a major development for sure. And also, really quickly, let's see. Someone said, how close is it to nuclear war? I wouldn't say it's 100%, folks. This could just be anything. I mean, this could be a very mundane thing, or this actually could be quite a serious thing where they're actually about to start using tactical nuclear weapons. We have no clue of what they're going to be doing until this is over. And also, I saw someone say, which side are the good guys? That's actually a great question. I'll be honest with you, I don't really think either side is in this kind of a conflict. Like, the America not having a dog in the fight is a little bit interesting, because usually we always do. And the fact that they're really just asking both sides to step it down a little bit is showing that even the United States is not really seeing that there's an openly good side to support in this for various reasons. But one thing that I would say that is kind of clearly showing that there isn't a good side to choose is that, yes, Pakistan did support the terror attack that occurred in Pahalgam, but at the same time, India then tries to encourage the quote-unquote freedom fighters, which could be largely classified as terrorists, in the Balochi area of Pakistan to start conducting acts of terror against the Pakistani populations there. So it's literally the exact same thing. And then in the Jammu and Kashmir region, they're also cutting off the water to Pakistan and about 90% of the population in that country, and are pretty much going to, if this keeps going, kill them all of thirst. So it's like, really, who is the good side here? It's like Pakistan made the first action that set this in motion. But when we look back at World War II, we don't say the Soviet Union was the good guys because they defeated the Nazis. We said they were both pretty much equally evil, looking back at it now. So I would say that at this point, it's about the same kind of a situation. We have two countries, one that supports, well, both of them actually support terrorist groups in the other's country, and also both of them are nuclear armed, and also both of them appear to be more than apt to go at the throat of the other and kill as many of the other's people as they can. So I'd actually say that there really isn't a good side, at least morally, to this conflict. But if the U.S. had to support one or the other for strategic interest, we would most likely end up supporting the Republic of India, although it even appears still that we're not even wanting to do that. So with that, I hope that addresses that somewhat well, at least for some of the questions that are coming through in the chat right now. But a lot of people are also throwing in their opinions on the odds of nuclear war here in between India and Pakistan. And it appears that a lot of people have mixed opinions on this one. A lot of people are saying that either there's a really high chance of a nuclear war, or there isn't a high chance of a nuclear war, and everything in between. But Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so it looks like the opinion by the audience of nuclear weapons usage by Pakistan and or India has been rising over at least the last couple of hours, because we ran a poll like this the other day when we covered this topic, and not many people thought that nuclear weapons were going to be used. But now that has changed. So 27% of the audience, which is a much larger figure than yesterday, say that there's very high odds, while 36% said very low odds, and only 30% said medium odds. And right now, I would honestly say, I think yesterday I said very low odds. That was my opinion. Today, I would say medium odds. I would say we're somewhere in the getting closer to the 40% range, in my opinion, because with them assembling that body, that NCA, the National Command Authority, that is responsible for nuclear weapons and their program inside of Pakistan, that is raising the odds, because the fact they're discussing it and it's even being discussed in the open like that is a bad sign. Now, whether or not they actually pull the trigger and actually have the balls to do something like that, that would be a whole nother question. But I would say I'm with a 30% medium odds. I think saying very high odds, that's jumping the gun a little bit, because once again, for somebody to launch a nuke, that means they're basically they're on the verge of basically seppuku, if I can say that on YouTube. I'm not sure if I can say that, but Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that it's medium odds as well. Very low odds would be a little bit of a tough one to push at this point, especially with this major meeting happening in Islamabad. So I would say that there's medium odds, but I would say that's not certain that they're definitely going to be using nuclear weapons, because this would also be so early on into a conflict to start whipping out tactical nuclear weapons or strategic nuclear weapons that would actually be quite absurd if they did something like that. That would actually be quite literally insane. So we will have to see, but I'm thinking that's medium odds. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And also, I see a lot of people are hopping on at the normal time. They're going, dang, y'all were early. And yes, we were. There was another major breaking news event that happened. We ran an emergency stream over it, which was the India-Pakistan war, because it is quite truly kicking off again in its own way just over the past few hours. So we came on early to be able to cover that. But I do have to make it clear that tonight we're not going to be trying to shoot for a 5-hour stream, because I'll be honest with y'all folks, I can't do another one of those at least this quickly right after the other one, because these streams mentally take a lot to run for me, and it takes me a good bit to try and like build up my energy to do one of those again. So I'm really not trying to shoot for another 3-hour stream, and that's why I want to make sure that we keep this thing rolling at a decent pace. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next super chat here is going to go to Jenna, last name Tolls, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Jenna, for that $20 support, and we appreciate that very much. And Jenna said, the acceleration of escalation better slow down, or we're looking at a Stone Age-ish reset. And my question is, who has the best opportunity to mediate this to settle down? Which country would that be?
Thank you for the support, Jenna, last name Tolls. A very good question right there, actually. Funnily enough, if they go nuclear, it won't really affect us too much. It would affect us a little bit. Nuclear winners, though, are largely unrealistic. It would require thousands of nuclear weapons all going off at once to create a situation like that, and all of them would have to be ground bursts to create a situation like that, so pretty much impossible. That wouldn't happen, even if India and Pakistan went at it and quite truly destroyed each other. On top of that, Pakistan doesn't have an ICBM, and India does, but none of their ICBMs have enough range to really affect anyone more than China and Russia, and really the Middle East. So luckily, due to how the situation has played out over the past few decades, they really don't have the ability to threaten the world with global nuclear destruction. They really only have the ability to threaten themselves with that. So if a nuclear war was to happen, it would be unfortunate, but it wouldn't actually pretty much be a world ender, like a nuclear war between America and Russia, or China and the United States, or any other combination like that. So with that in mind, the best country that could negotiate a resolution to this conflict would most likely be the United States as a neutral mediator, considering that we've had decent relationships with Pakistan and India over the years. We could probably come in as a neutral third party and attempt to negotiate it. But the thing is that nobody really seems that they want to negotiate it at this point, because the Secretary of State has been on the phone with both sides endlessly for days from what we're hearing, and there's been absolutely no progress made on actually trying to get them to the negotiating table. So it doesn't really sound like either of them want to, and it sounds like they just want to get to bombing each other. So at that point, we just kind of have to sit back and have to watch it happen at that point, which sounds a little bit unfortunate, but that's really more so the realistic scenario that we're looking at right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, big shout out to Alan Doherty, who put in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Alan, for that $20 support and also helping to keep us running. And we do appreciate it very much, Alan. And of course, that keeps the channel running day in and day out, just like this one. And also keeps us wide awake with the coffee. And we can stay jacked up on coffee to run these streams for 10 hours. But thank you very much, Alan, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
I got to thank you so much, Alan Doherty, for the support as well and helping this channel to keep on running. You didn't throw in a comment, but your support helps us to be able to get coffee and pizza where we can run this thing all the time, 24/7. We love that. Oh man, I gotta tell you, honestly, I'm honestly exhausted, folks. I also didn't really have a lot of coffee tonight because we ran out, so I had an espresso. Matthew made one for me very graciously. I thank him massively for that, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be mentally here at all. And I feel like my presentation on the news has been very good and well researched, but a lot less high energy than normal. But I still thank you so much once again for the support, because you're going to be helping me out to be able to go out to the store tomorrow and be able to go get some coffee, because I'm going to have to make sure to get coffee. Otherwise, these are going to be really rough to run. Kind of like they were getting a while ago when I had to start drinking coffee again. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next super chat goes to Jocelyn White, another channel legend, and throws in another $20 donation tonight. And thank you very much, Josh, for that $20 support once again. And Josh said, thanks for the dedication, and take one from the chat and LLT LSA.
And thank you so much, Jocelyn White, for the support and appreciating our dedication. We try our best to make sure that we are here almost all the time, whenever we need to be, covering this news for all of y'all. And we are happy to know, Jocelyn, that you appreciate that greatly and are supporting the channel, so we can keep this thing going. We can keep it going on and on and on. And I gotta say, folks, that we gotta make sure to keep this thing going on and on and on, because the news is just huge these days. It is it's absolutely insane, really, because it's a crazy thing. I mean, the amount of news. It's really hard to wrap our minds around, really, when you think about it, because there is quite literally something going on in every corner of the world at this point, and we're having to try and keep track of all of them here on the channel, cover them, and also in some situations like Pakistan, India, I'm having to try and rush on top of all of this in the background to try and learn as much as I can about their militaries and their abilities, which I've never really researched or cared to learn about much before now, unlike other countries. So with that, I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are going to be moving on to the next one. And also, let's see here. Someone, let's see. Hold on. I'll look down. Let's see. I've seen a decent amount of people coming in here tonight, folks, and it's been like business as usual with this kind of stuff. I just saw someone say that Western media looks down on India, and that's not the case at all. Western media doesn't really look down on any country, and we try and give everyone, every country, a fair shot at getting a good amount of news coverage. But the thing is that when a country starts to challenge the truth, that's when things start to become an issue. And the truth is what can be confirmed. And I'll go and show the golden example. I mean, one country out there in the world has truly set the golden example for being the best at backing everything up, they say, with receipts, which is Ukraine. No other country has done this in the world rather than Ukraine, with making sure that they are as transparent as possible and they actually show what's going on. And that has really given me a lot of respect for Ukraine, because quite truly, nowhere else in the world, not the Israelis, not the Taiwanese, not the Indians, not anyone else, has actually been as transparent as Ukraine has been. They will show us what the front lines look like, what the skies over their cities look like, what the air defense looks like. They are openly transparent. Whenever they say something crazy has happened, and you're like, oh, that sounds stupid, crazy enough, they actually will have the proof to back it up. Both Pakistan and India have been two of the most dishonest countries so far on a governmental level with what's going on. Neither of them are actually stating what's really happening, and both of them are going with these absolutely absurd claims. Quite truly, just insane claims that aren't even realistic. And that's why a lot of people are not looking at India and Pakistan right now on a national level as honest countries, and we're looking at them as dishonest countries. I'll be honest with you, I don't believe squat of what Pakistan and India is putting out at this point, because just over the past 72 hours, both countries have proven that they say things that have absolutely no grounding in reality, and they state it as fact. Not only that, Pakistan has published now on an official government account Arma 3 footage as actual frontline footage of them shooting down an Indian jet. That's from a video game, and they're saying that that's true footage. India is coming out and making outrageous claims every day, like absolutely insane claims, like we didn't lose any aircraft, although we were able to confirm 3 distinct debris fields within the first 24 hours of the conflict, confirming that 3 aircraft had been shot down, including a Rafale without a doubt. Those kinds of things start to throw massive questions of validity onto these two countries, and that's what makes people go, you know, I don't know. You know, it's like these countries seem to be dishonest a good bit in their news coverage or their reports on what's really going on. And then it takes a channel like us, they have to try and sift through quite literally everything and all the disinformation that's going on to then put out the closest to accurate story that we can get through everything, which still largely relies on video and picture evidence, much like we've done with everything else. It's a really interesting thing with that. And also another thing that someone was talking about is, well, what about Ukraine? Look, I don't trust Budan in anything that he says. That's been something that people have known on here for 2 years. Because once you destroy your credibility is destroyed for good. And Budan has said so many things that also ended up being untrue. And he's the only person in the Ukrainian government that's done that. That every time Budan says something, we have to scrutinize it significantly because we just default to, if he says something, it's most likely untrue. If anyone else in the Ukrainian government says something, it is true. But if he says something, probably untrue. So now we're working with pretty much the same principle on India and Pakistan as a nation, is that if Pakistan or India say that something happened, that probably is untrue. And we're going to have to do a decent amount of digging to find out what really happened. So I hope that addresses that the best we can, at least with how we're looking at it right now. And I get that a load of Pakistani and Indian viewers are coming in here tonight, and I've seen a load of them. I haven't actually seen one that largely is trying to say a middle ground stance that's actually looking for evidence or proof of what's happening. Pretty much everyone that I've seen come in tonight is once again trying to push the propaganda from their specific country instead of trying to find the actual facts, which don't really portray one side as better than the other or winning over the other at this point. Honestly, right now, both of them look very weak in the defensive, and both of them look very strong in the offensive. That's really all we can get at this point from both sides. So that's what it is. I mean, you know, that's all we have. It's not really painting either side badly in either way, but it is showing a realistic portrayal of what's really going on the ground, and we have nothing but video and picture evidence to be able to confirm that's exactly what's happening. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least with what we have at the moment. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here is going to go to none other than Jacob Hawley, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Jacob, for that $20 support and also helping to keep us running. He said, I hope this doesn't escalate into something huge. And if a war with nukes breaks out, everyone loses. Balochistan will probably erupt too. And they were promised independence, but Pakistan revoked the vote on it, obviously.
I thank you for the support, and everyone does lose in a nuclear war, but I do have to say this is a bit of a silver lining to the possibility of nuclear war in India, is luckily it would be limited to their area. Like, it would be bad, yes, and it would be a massive humanitarian crisis likes of which the world has never seen, but it wouldn't end up affecting everyone in the world. So that would be largely my statement on that. Like, if a nuclear war in any other instance, like in between Russia and the West, happened, that is actually quite a serious thing. That actually would threaten to kill a large amount of people throughout the entirety of the world. Or really a nuclear war with China and the United States, or any other combination. But considering that both India and Pakistan pretty much only have eyes for each other and have built their nuclear arsenals off of that premise, they actually don't have the ability to attack and destroy every country in the world as pretty much a way to sign off in their own sense. So luckily that's kind of the case with that. Still not a great thing, but still better than what it could be. But beyond that, I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, huge thanks to you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, really quick news flash. Pakistan has attacked India's Suratgarh airbase, which is apparently a different one than we've heard about previously. So that is the newest airbase that has been struck and attacked by Pakistani air forces, has been the Suratgarh airbase. Wherever that is inside of India, I'm not sure, but we're going to find out.
Let's see here. Could you spell it for me?
It's Suratgarh.
Suratgarh. Let's see where this is. This is down in Rajasthan. So let's see where the airbase is near to this place. And it's probably off in the distance somewhere. Where in the world? Oh, here it is. This is it. So let's see what kind of aircraft are here, if we can see. That's a MiG-21. That's pretty bad. What else do they have here? They got to have something more advanced. Well, that's a MiG-21 as well. Maybe this is like a training aircraft thing. I don't know. Damn, there's a load of MiG-21s here. I think it might honestly just be nothing but, yeah, it's nothing but MiGs. lots of old MiGs. So this is an airbase that's been hit. Let me go down on the map and put that on. So like put it on like the stove. So here we go. So this airbase is right here. So let me go and put this down on the map as an airbase that was attacked. So here we go. Let me put that little marker down right here. Look at that. And then we put airbase attacked. And then we fill it in with red. So that way we know that it was attacked. So there we go. So that's another airbase that's been attacked. So far we were able to confirm that 3 Pakistani airbases were attacked and 3 Indian airbases have been attacked over the course of the stream alone. So with that, I hope that does.
Also, by the way, I got word from our Fitux Network associate in the chat who is very graciously letting me know of some alerts about breaking news tonight. And thank you very much to our viewer Pear in the live chat who apparently works with Fitux. Fitux Network is now reporting that India says it's responding to Pakistani military action, according to Indian officials. And apparently, their response is only just now beginning. So even though we've been hearing of the Indians attacking various places in Pakistan, apparently that's just the preliminary response. That's not the whole response. So in other words, they got the whole enchilada coming up very soon, according to what we're hearing from the Indian officials. So that's a pretty big announcement as well.
That is pretty big, and we'll be trying to observe that the best we can for all of y'all, and if something major starts to happen, we will try and cover it in a limited way, but I do want to point out to folks that I don't want to make sure to run us into the ground, because at this point, folks, I'm feeling a little tired enough that if I have to run another 5 stream today, stream's getting canceled tomorrow for sure, so I can just try and, like, you know, get some energy back up here. So with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Apache Helicopter, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Apache Helicopter, for that support. They said all missiles intercepted by India. Get ready to witness fastest surrender from Pakistan in the history of human civilization. I'll be honest with you, my friend. That sounds like some Indian propaganda. I'll be honest with you.
He's Indian.
So far, I would say we see no evidence that India is smacking down Pakistan whatsoever. Also, at the same time, Pakistan is not necessarily smacking down India on that front either. So to say that one side is somehow like OP or overpowered toward the other, that is really kind of not reality. Really, it's not reality whatsoever. But Enforcer, what say you?
Let's see here. Here's some hits on the Umpadar Air Base in Jammu and Kashmir. You can see right there. Let's see, what other hits can we confirm? Oh yeah, here's a hit on an ammunition depot in Uri that the Pakistanis have also been able to get. We also have the other hit that occurred inside the city of Jammu at a holy site from what we were assuming to be a Pakistani missile that we had earlier. We also were able to hear of explosions at the ammunition facility near Tabriz, which we actually did have a video of right here. Actually, let me go and get the video, which was the other one right here. So we have confirmation of that. There's a ongoing fire from one of those hits. Let's see, what other clips do we have of active explosions or impacts? Let's see here. Explosions. Well, we didn't have a clip of that one. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we did have the clip of the Indian outpost getting hit by a Cornet right there, which apparently killed several Indian service members. So I thank you for the support from India, but that's propaganda, and that's not even corroborated by video and picture evidence. Quite literally everything we have shows that we have seen that they have been hit multiple times. So all missiles haven't been intercepted by India, because there are quite clearly a decent amount of hits that ended up hitting India that we were able to confirm here on film. So, you know, once again, thank you for the support, but we don't live in fantasy land, and we don't really support India or Pakistan here, so we're working with what we actually have, and we were able to confirm that there are plenty of hits going on in between India and Pakistan from both sides. It's not really a one-sided affair here. This is actually a fairly close call at the moment about who's getting the one up on the other. So, you know, saying anything different is largely living in make-believe world, at least for now. So do thank you for the support, and I hope that does address that well. But you know, I live in reality here, and it's not going great for either side at this point. And so with that, and also saying that Pakistan is about to surrender quicker than anyone in history. I mean, they've already lasted longer than 7 days, and the quickest surrender to ever happen in history was 30 minutes. So they've already survived a good bit longer than the quickest surrender in world history. So once again, a very severe exaggeration. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. So our next super chat here goes to Khan LSA once again, who puts in another $20 donation. And thank you very much, Khan, for the second support of the night. And they said, guys, please Wikipedia Pakistan's Air Force and show it. Their Air Force alone has over 70,000 active personnel. This will not go well for India. And this attack on Pakistan's port from India will fail.
And I thank you for the support, Khan. I would have to say, though, that Pakistan and India, it's looking like a more fair fight than a lot of people would have initially believed, at least from what we're seeing. And on top of that, Pakistan's Air Force equipment, the actual aircraft that they have, aren't really anything to write home about. I mean, a lot of it's fairly old. Let me go down here so we can get the list of active aircraft. A lot of the aircraft are quite old. They have only 20 J-10s in service. They have 156 JF-17s in service, 75 F-16s, and then they have 58 Mirage 3s, 78 Mirage 5s, and 53 F-7s. So about half of their Air Force is made up of older, aging airframes beyond the F-16, the JF-17, and the J-10. India's Air Force is made up of a significantly larger amount of aircraft than this, and not only that, they are also decently more advanced and capable because a lot of them are fourth generation. That's not saying that Pakistan's going to lose, but it is saying that the Indian Air Force, at least technologically on paper, should be able to give a fair fight at a minimum to the Pakistani Air Force. I'll be honest, I'm not I'm going to say that the official stance of the LSA is that we don't have a stance here on this one, because considering that the U.S. Department of State doesn't really want to have a dog in the fight for either side, and also I'll be honest with y'all, on a strategic standpoint, there is a reason to support India, but the reasons to support India is that we're expecting to move a decent amount of infrastructure from China into India for manufacturing. But that could easily be put anywhere in the world if India didn't turn out. Like, it could end up in Mexico, for an example. So that isn't really such an inherently strategic reason that we have to support India. I think that's kind of why the U.S. is taking such a neutral stance on this and not really openly supporting the Indians. And also, the other thing is that while India is a contender to put us in the middle of the Indian Ocean for the Chinese fear-building operations, Sri Lanka is in the exact same position. And we're pretty much courting Sri Lanka and India about at the exact same time at this point, and trying to get the U.S. military either in India or in Sri Lanka separately if one doesn't work out. So there isn't it isn't a diehard sort of thing where we have to support India's interest, but at the same time, there really isn't a reason to support Pakistan either, considering that over the past 2 decades, they've started to move themselves so close to China that they naturally should be viewed as a part of the Chinese sphere. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Thank you so much once again for the support, though, Con, and helping this channel to keep on rolling, and I hope that addresses that the best I can. And so with that, we are on to the next one, but a huge thanks to you once again.
Yes, indeed. And our next one goes to KG, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, KG, for that $20 support. And they said Pakistan is no joke. And who remembers January 2024 when Iran chucked missiles into Pakistan, then backed down? Iran didn't even want that smoke.
And thank you for the support. That actually is true. Iran has had a border war, though, with everyone around them. I'm not even kidding. They've had border conflicts with Iraq, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then Afghanistan's had issues with literally everyone around them, too. Iran and Afghanistan are honestly the troubled children of Central Asia at this point. But one thing I would say is that I would agree. They didn't want that smoke, but then again, Iran is not a nuclear-armed power, and they were messing with a nuclear-armed power at that point, which is always a dangerous thing, a dangerous game to play. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And maybe Pakistan is going to do a pretty good job and beat the Indians here, but the Indians also stand a pretty good chance of putting a significant amount of damage on the Pakistan. Honestly, at this point, it really is up to who can fire off the most munitions first, because considering that the air defense is very weak on both sides, it really is just a game of who can destroy the other one's stuff faster than the other. So if Pakistan can do that quicker than India, they're going to win. If India can do that faster than Pakistan, they're going to win. So it's really anyone's game at this point, at least from what we're telling. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And our next one here goes to Sika Games, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Sika, for that $20 donation. And they said, don't let the folks get you down. And also, don't float down the Ganges. I hear it's dirty. And Slava Ukraine.
Oh yeah, well, that's no hidden secret. The Ganges River is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. Pretty much down its whole length. Let me see if I can actually show y'all. well, you can see like some, like, I don't know if those are dead birds or trash hanging in the grates of this bridge. I can't really tell, but the Ganges River is pretty bad off. For specific reasons, and really no one wants to clean it for also other reasons. But yeah, it's a pretty rough one, like the roughest in the world. Actually, there's no exaggerating that. If y'all don't know, there's actually a little bit of a ritualistic thing that happens that I find quite disgusting, because this river is also a major water source. In India, it's actually a fairly common cultural tradition that when someone dies, you cremate them in an open, kind of a. It's kind of like a rectangular hole in the ground. It's not really deep. It's about maybe a foot and a half deep. But you put the body in there and you just cremate it in the open daylight. But you really don't cremate it completely. It's just kind of like you really just kind of burn the body, and then you take it and then you just go dump it in the river, and then it just floats on down the river. So that's something that I find to be very nasty. Like I know a lot of people say, well, it's a cultural thing, but on a sanitary side of things, it's pretty gross because that river is being used as a source of drinking water, and there are partially burnt bodies that are being deliberately thrown in there commonly, to the point that seeing a body floating down the Ganges River is a fairly common sort of an occurrence, along with large amounts of trash and other things. And then people also bathe in the Ganges River because it's considered to be a significant holy site. The whole river is. But at the same time, there's also partially burned dead bodies that could be floating by while you're bathing in the river, which is also filled with a load of pollutants. So really kind of an interesting thing with that. It is a fairly polluted river. And also, Planet Lord is correct. There's a lot of industrial waste that gets thrown in the river too, and nobody wants to fix it. Because this is actually a bit of a political thing in India. No one really wants to fix the whole throwing the, half-burned bodies into the river thing because it's a major cultural and religious thing. So if they start to tell people to not do that, that could actually meet a lot of public backlash in India. So they kind of just overlook that and let it keep going. But on a public sanitation side of things, throwing dead bodies anywhere rather than into a grave is generally considered to be a bad thing. Just on the sanitation side of things. So that's something that I have to say. Yeah, that's a rough one for sure. Trying to make sure to go about this as diplomatically as I can, because I'll be honest with you all. One of the things that I find to be one of the most important government services that can be provided is public sanitation. At least here in the United States, that's one of the most important things I think a municipality, because it's more so a municipal level thing that can be conducted, can provide. For example, indoor plumbing, toilet facilities, making sure that the fresh water that you're getting is clean, or at least it meets some sort of a minimum standard of cleanliness and sanitation, making sure that there isn't buildups of trash. Those kinds of things are major things that I believe that any government is supposed to provide. And in India, specifically with the Ganges River, and also in most other instances, public sanitation is not even a forefront of concern to most municipalities or even the national government, which is something that I find to be a little bit bizarre to me coming from the West. So with that, I hope that does address that at least the best I can, in my opinion. But thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is another super chat from KG, who puts in yet another $20 donation. And thank you very much, KG, once more for that $20 support. And they said over under on China taking advantage of this and taking Bhutan or even Nepal with sticks and stones.
And that's an interesting idea. I don't really know a lot about China wanting to take Bhutan. I know that they actually don't declare that to be a part of the People's Republic of China, so I don't really think they're shooting for it, but I do know that the Chinese are shooting for Arunachal Pradesh just to the east, and that's been a major point of contention between India and China, much like the Ladakh area has also been a major point of contention between the People's Republic of China and India. Really quickly, I also want to make sure that I check something. Let's see. 1 second, folks. So here you go, folks. This is I've seen some people trying to say I'm untrue about my information about the Ganges River and the partially cremated bodies, but when you pull it up, there's actually a lot of information about that. Like for example, the BBC reported that some of the remains could be body parts which found their way into the Ganges River after routine cremations on the banks. So it's actually something that does happen.
I saw on that there was a documentary, I believe James May did it on Amazon Prime. He went to India and like toured around in India, and he went to the place where they were doing that. They were doing the cremations, and they were literally just burning the bodies there. And there was like ashes going through, like you could see going through the air that were floating around that were of the cremated people. Which was very interesting to see that. And also, of course, the water, the river is right there. So they were appearing to move some of that into the river based on what I saw in that documentary. So I'll be perfectly honest. If that's the tradition, that's the culture, then, everybody's free to have their own thing that they're doing. That's totally fine. But it's not the most sanitary thing. I think on a factual basis, that's just sort of like across the board, not very sanitary. But I mean, if people are willing to accept that risk of it being not sanitary, I guess it's fine. But I personally wouldn't want people doing that just for their own health reasons, for their own health safety. Probably not a good thing.
And also, I saw someone say, oh, actually, it's not that bad. You're totally misinterpreting it. It's just ashes. Dumping bodily ashes into a public water source is still unsanitary. Like when I drink my water from the city of Birmingham's municipal waterworks, it's generally assumed that there will not be any kind of bodily remains or ashes or partially decomposed corpses that would make up a small part per million of that water. So, like, really, like, even if it is, but at least during the early 2020s, there was a large amount of dead bodies floating up and down the Ganges. Usually, though, it is largely cremated ashes that are still poured in. That is still gross. Because from what I understand, that river is a major drinking source of water, and generally pouring ashes into any river or really any drinking water source is generally considered to be a fairly unhealthy thing. So with that, I hope that does address that well. And also, someone said nobody drinks water from the river. Dude, that's literally the only water source in central India. Like, that's where everyone gets their water from. Let's go pull that up because I'm gonna make sure to do my due diligence on this one. So, yeah, here we go. According to National Geographic, today the river flows through well-populated regions of India, providing fresh water to the millions of people living in these regions. So yes, it is used for drinking water. I don't know why like someone is in here vehemently trying to act like this is just blatantly misinformation. But that's quite literally the truth. Like this is a major riverway that's being used as a source of drinking water for millions and millions of people who live on the banks of the Ganges River. And there are loads of ashes from thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that are being thrown into this river quite regularly, and also partially burnt corpses, at least in the earlier part of the 2020s, they get thrown in and people are drinking water out of this river. That is what we would largely be greatly concerned about for public sanitation concerns, because there is a great chance, considering that there is bodily remains of many different types inside of that water, that there could be outbreaks of cholera or other kinds of dangerous pathogens that could break out in that kind of water. And also I see some people saying, well, the water's filtered. No, a lot of people actually do just scoop the water straight out of the river. So, with that,
Yeah.
what are you saying, Matthew?
I wonder if like a life straw or something would like fix that water up. Like I wonder if that would make it like clean to drink or not, or would you need something a little bit more like stronger than like a life straw, like one of those little filter things?
I wonder if a life straw would do it. Honestly, I think it might. But I still wouldn't want to get my water from a place where I knew that it was literally like tradition to, put bodily remains in the water. Like that's a place I would generally avoid getting my drinking water from. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to none other than Marion Deemert, who puts in a $30 donation. And thank you very much, Marion, for that support once again, and for supporting the channel and helping to keep it running. And they said, you're both doing an amazing job. And thank you, Marion, for the kind words. And they said, thank you. And our national news, is really failing us. And Slav Ukraine.
And I got to thank you so much for the support. And thank you for enjoying our news coverage. We try our best to make sure that we keep this channel running and report the news as best we can. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And so a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that incredibly well, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And so with that, we are on to... also, man, I'm telling you, man, this guy is about to get on my nerves, man, because I don't know if you know this, buddy, but like there are loads. Like I can go and cite like 5 documentaries, dude. There's someone from India in here who's taking great offense to what we've said about the Ganges River, and there are loads of documentaries that have been made by National Geographic, BBC, and any other major news organization that talks about that river. I mean, hell, even one of the Top Gear trio, James May, went over there and showed it as well. I mean, it's quite a well-documented thing. It's not really like this is something new that's being discovered. It's much like the pollution in any Chinese river from industrial waste. It's not something that's a hidden secret that you can contest. It's quite literally something that's been seen on film. I mean, we can literally, like, let me go pull it. Let me go see here. So, let me go see if I can get a picture here. Yeah, you see, right here. When you see all that kind of trash in the river, and there's actual pictures of it, you really cannot say our river is clean. Because it's not. Like, there's literally picture proof that there's trash all along the river banks in most places. I mean, these people are literally bathing in trash. I mean, like there's no way you can really, like, pretend like that isn't a
bathing in
thing.
that?
Yeah, they're bathing in that. Look.
Huh, that's, I thought the point of bathing was to get clean. I mean, if there's trash and there's pollutants in the river, I don't understand how you're getting clean. But, I mean, you know, yeah, they do that or whatever.
But, you know, like the thing is like if like you can't lie about something that's a thing. Like I can tell you that the rivers here in Alabama are quite clean compared to the Ganges River, but they're still not entirely clean. One of the ones that passes through Birmingham, the Cahapa River, on some given days, you cannot even get near the water because of the amount of industrial waste in it, and it actually would be damaging to your skin and your body if you were to even get in the water. Like that's something that's just true. I'm not going to lie about it and say that Alabama has sparkling clear springs that you can literally scoop the water clean out of and drink out of. That's just not the reality. But when you're looking at a river like this, and it's literally filled with to the brim with garbage and cremated remains of people, and sometimes partially cremated remains of people, you can't come in here and try and convince me otherwise that the river is clean. Like literally, I didn't even type in Ganges River pollution. I just typed in the Ganges River, and this is literally the pictures that come up as some of the top results for the river. So you know that's not really something I'm making up here. It's literally something that's just known. Look at that. I mean, look, there's so much trash, it's literally building up pilings around the bottom of this bridge.
I gotta say something that dude that was down there drinking water in the picture, like on the left, like scroll down a little bit, dude was straight up drinking the water out of
This
there,
one?
like the other way. Do you go down some? There's a guy drinking water straight out of the river.
I haven't gone down further. I mean, we like right here. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
He was right. This shock in your voice. Oh my god. He's literally like, that looks like cooking oil. Like it doesn't even look like water. It looks like canola oil or something.
Yeah.
That guy, listen, you couldn't even like wager me. Like if you drank the water, I'll give you like $1,000. I would say absolutely hell no. The medical bills are going to be greater than $1,000 for drinking that water. That's just like, listen, it's not a tradition thing. It's just a health thing. Like don't drink the nasty water coming out of the Ganges River. It's just not smart.
This is yeah. Also, let me pull this up. Do people drink directly? I think that picture kind of answered it. But do people drink directly from the Ganges River? And let's find out the answer. And the answer is, let's see, level too high to be considered safe for agricultural use, let alone for drinking or bathing. Is it safe to dip in the Ganges? You can take a dip, but you know, water quality is not a great thing. I like how it's like, yeah, you can take a dip, but you just got to consider that the water is toxic, quite literally. It's like, okay, well, then that means you really can. But let's see here. Hang on, I'm trying to see.
A local Indian grocery store sells water from the Ganges in the grocery store. Why would you buy it when you just go get it for free?
Yeah, that's a good question. But let me see here. Oh yeah, here was the one that was famous from 2022. Remember this, Matthew? When the public official said the river is safe to drink from, and then he got a glass, dipped it in there, drank it, and then he had to go to the hospital like right afterwards because he was like vomiting up blood and stuff. Like I remember that one. So you know, and that was also because some people in India were actually saying the water in the Ganges was unsafe to drink. And then this guy was saying, no, it's totally fine. You know, kind of like how those U.S. officials do out there in the fracking fields. You know what I'm talking about, Matthew, where the oil seeps into the water table, and then they're like, oh, it's totally safe to drink, but you can literally light the water on fire coming out of the tap.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then people will be like, okay, drink it, and then they won't drink the water. Over here in India, this guy actually did drink the water that he said was safe, and then he ended up going to the hospital. Like, that actually happened. So
what they diagnosed him with?
I don't. Let me actually go get off this just in case if an ad pops up.
I'm kind of curious.
Let's see. Official said, oh, wait a minute. They did. There was a lot of government hiding here going on, because he said that his hospital visit right after drinking the water had absolutely nothing to do with drinking the water. So they didn't actually, it's a whole bunch of malarkey. But let me see here really quickly. I got to go find y'all the part where where folks actually are drinking directly from the river. So let me go see. Let's see. Course, geology, hydrology. Let's see here. Governed by the discharge and the history and the let's see, the descent of the Ganges and the redemption of the dead. Let's see. Oh, by the way, like if someone is saying, oh, that's not a thing that actually happens in the Ganges River, it is. There's more proof for it, but I'll skip past that because that's a little bit too graphic to show. Let's see. I need to find. Let's see here. Irrigation, dam, economy, ecology and environment, the fish, the crocodile. Let's see. The river dolphin, the pollution and environment concerns. Oh yeah, here we go. In case y'all are wondering, like why I'm not really why I'm really saying that the Ganges River is unclean, and some people want to go against that, is because of this right here. This is actually one of the areas where they cremate and then dump the ashes. And you can kind of tell there is such a large amount of ashes being dumped in. This is a near industrial process over here, because there are some bodies already wrapped in linen. They're about to be cremated. There's one being cremated over there, and they're also down here with literal buckets of flinging the ashes into the water because there's so many ashes to take care of. So I think everyone can kind of get the idea here that even if it is just ashes, there's an insane amount of ashes being thrown in, and that clearly cannot be a healthy sort of a thing. So that's another little bit of a backup for that, because I don't want to say something and then people come in here and say that that's not true, and I'm trying to paint for some reason, like some people are saying I'm trying to paint India as a backwater country. And that's not what I'm trying to do at all, because this is a part of their culture and it's what they do. But at the same time, we're speaking from a public sanitation standpoint. This is wildly unsafe and unsanitary. So that's really why I'm going through all of the effort to make sure to clearly, cover my steps and cross my T's here, so that way we're not being accused of something that was not meant. So anyways, with that, now that I feel like we have proven that claim backwards and forwards, and there really is no way to deny the claims that were being made, we are going to be moving on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Mitchell Halverson, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Mitchell, for that $20 support. He said, do you think that Afghanistan/Taliban will get involved if negotiations occur, or will they enter the fray? And glory to the LSA.
I would have to say that I don't think Afghanistan's actually going to be getting involved at all. Afghanistan largely has remained to itself, except for with Iran, which was a totally different thing, dealing with water rights, kind of like India and Pakistan situation. But I have a feeling they're most likely going to be remaining to themselves, because that seems to be what the Taliban likes to do. Because there's also a lot of infighting in Afghanistan, so they've got their hands full already just kind of dealing with the infighting that's going on inside of Afghanistan at this moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. I think it wants to give her support and help with this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we've got a $20 super chat from none other than Flash1, who sadly already had to leave for the night. But thank you very much, Flash, for that $20 support. And hopefully tomorrow you get to hear us reading it off. And he said, hello, Enforcer Brothers. And I'm still using the LSA mugs, and the flag is displayed in my office. Love your work and keep it up. And LSA, and a live chat question, please.
Hey, and I love to hear that you're still using the LSA mugs and the LSA flag. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great thing to know. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And I got to thank you massively for that. And I got to thank you massively for enjoying the Lee Spring Army, because the Lee Spring Army will never die. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again, and we will make sure to take one from the chat in your honor. And so what do we got, Matthew?
And the live chat question goes to Rangers Rule, who said, could opening the dam on the Indian side and let the water flow to Pakistan, could that reduce the action pretty much instantly?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Pakistan would be fighting a war over. So if India did that, there is no real war for Pakistan to fight. That's kind of what's been pushing this towards conflict, is that direct action for the large part, and also the terrorist attack at Pahalgam, which was really the beginning of the whole thing. But really, what was the catalyst to ensure that Pakistan's going to respond each and every time is that the water's been cut off. So if they reopen the flow of water into Pakistan, this whole situation would probably start to dissipate pretty quickly, unlike what it's doing right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Steve Hook. And Steve puts in a 20. And thank you very much, Steve, for that $20 support. He said, why is the U.S. at DEFCON 3?
The DEFCON is not officially stated publicly. Just want to make that clear. So there is no way to know what DEFCON the U.S. is at, because that's really only the highest level sort of thing in the government, and that is highly classified what DEFCON we are at. But to answer your question, the reason why we are at DEFCON 3 is because we are always pretty much at a state of having to be ready for war, and there's no state where we would actually enter DEFCON 4 even, because that's pretty much getting into demobilization, and we are always at a constant state of readiness. So that's pretty much why we're always at any given moment at a state of DEFCON 3. It's nothing really scary. That's just what we've kind of been doing the entire Cold War. And so with that, I hope that, the entire Cold War and even after. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, real quick, before we jump into our next super chat, this is a piece of breaking news right here we've just gotten from The Guardian, according to Apex News on Twitter. They said the Indian military says it has actively begun large-scale mobilization of additional forces to the border, including activating its reserve territorial army to ensure full operational strength of the army in the event of any further conflict escalation. So India has begun a full-scale mobilization of their military. So that's a huge announcement right there. And once again, Pakistan's officials are now down talking the Indians and telling them that they should back down and de-escalate, or they're going to take it to the next level, which they're currently meeting at in their committee right now to discuss. So quite severe. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta think. I'm getting stuck in the super chat mode right there. I gotta say that is a fairly large development, because that is pretty much a full mobilization of their ground forces, including reservists. So we may be actually seeing that this does go into a major ground war here soon, and not just an air war like we're seeing largely at this moment right now. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Dan Ujeta, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much, Dan, for that $20 support. And I do not see a comment attached, but thank you very much for supporting the channel. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it running. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to, guess who? It is KG once again, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, KG, for that $20 support. And they said, I bet Putin is shrieking in his bunker watching this and knowing that the rest of the world is watching a conflict between two nuclear-armed nations, not automatically going nuclear. And thanks for the threats, Vlad.
And I thank you for the support, KG. And I suppose he may be, because it's kind of disproving his idea, at least Putin's idea, that a direct conflict between the U.S. and Russia would be a literal nuclear annihilation immediately. Or at least that propaganda fear rhetoric that he's pushing. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope that does address that the best I can, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it rolling. And so with that, a big thanks to you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Diesel, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Diesel, as well, for that support. They said, Matthew 24:6, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, and nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and praying for India.
Thank you so much for the support. And of course, there are a lot of wars happening around the world, and who knows whose game this will be to win down there in India and Pakistan. It might be either one. At this moment, it's a bit of a toss-up. But we will have to wait and see what truly happens here as time continues to pass by day, because this situation is developing in ways that are really hard to predict at this point. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Big thanks to you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Live Laugh Toaster Bath, who puts in a $15 donation. And thank you very much, Live Laugh Toaster, for that $15 support. It's a good evening, Enforcers. A Sunday morning stream. How good? And take one from the chat, please, an LSA.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And of course, thank you so much for enjoying our stream tonight and supporting it. And of course, throwing in some kind words to the entirety of the Lee Spring Army, an amazing group of folks who have been here for years listening to the news and listening to all of the goings on, quite literally around the world. And so with that, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the live chat question in honor of that super chat is going to go to Cyprian, who said, how far do you think the propaganda will continue with both countries?
To an endless conclusion. I mean, like, it's going to just keep getting worse because they're not going to stop. I mean, they're not going to stop and correct the propaganda because then that means they lied. They can't confirm that they ever lied. So the propaganda is just going to build on top of itself until it starts becoming absurd. That's really where this is going at this point between Pakistan and India. So with that, I hope that addresses that the best I can. And I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we've got two $10 super chats. The first one goes to friend Wilkins, who put in a 10, and also Gary Bott, who also put in a 10 as well. And they said LSA. And thank you both very much, Gary and friend, for that support. And we do appreciate it. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you both, Gary and friend, together again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running because y'all make this channel possible and make this thing a reality day in and day out. So a massive thanks to both of y'all once again. And we are on to the next one.
And we have a 10 from Jim Andrew Chow, who puts in that 10, of course. And thank you very much, Jim, for that support. He said, I've been lost trying to find accurate info on this conflict. Both sides have been working harder at the disinformation game as opposed to what's actually happening. It's pretty bad. And what say you?
I would have to agree. It's really bad, and we're trying our best to sift through it. And no matter what, there's always someone who's going to claim that it's untrue at this point, which is very disheartening because, you know, you would think that some people would just be like, okay, well, he's actually tried his best to get it right. Instead, people want to come in here and hear a fairy tale, and we don't do fairy tales, we do news. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to Rangers Rule, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Rangers Rule, as well. They said even more coffee.
Hey, and thank you so much for support, Rangers Rule, and getting us some more coffee so that way we can make sure to keep this channel running day in and day out. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Dade Carnes, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Dade Carnes, for that support. And Dade said, hello, Enforcers. And I was curious what the main purpose of submarines are during a war. LSA, and thanks for the great analysis.
And thank you so much for the support. And the main reason, Karn, that submarines are used in war is largely to attack merchant shipping, or at least pretty much evade conventional service fleets and attempt to attack commercial shipping. That's generally the primary way that submarines have been used in the past, but they can also be used for covert attacks against surface combatants of another force. We've never actually heard of a direct submarine on submarine fight that's ever been conducted in history, at least to this moment yet. So generally those are the two things that they're used for, but primarily for attacking enemy shipping, which is a major thing to attack. A lot of people always think the submarines are going after enemy warships, and that's just not the case, at least primarily. They generally always, if never, go only for merchant shipping. And so with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. And I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $10 super chat from Esteban Graves. And thank you very much, Esteban, for that $10 support. Sadly, no comment to address, but thank you very much for supporting the channel once again. And we also have another $10 super chat from Apache Helicopter. And they said, India brings down PAX-PF jets between Baramulla, Budgam, Srinagar. Also, we have no confirmation, just to make that clear, by the way. And they said search parties are out to locate the pilots. Also, no confirmation on that either. But Enforcer, what say you?
I thank you for the support, but that isn't verifiable news. We need like video and picture evidence for all that, and we have none. So I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $10 super chat from Khan LSA. And thank you very much, Khan, for that 10. He said, I would say we are at 90% of Pakistan turning India into a glassed over desert. And they said, I don't like Pakistan. I'm just saying.
And I thank you for the support. I would say it's anyone's game, but it may go nuclear a lot faster than we were expecting at this point, which would be unfortunate. But it appears that it might be going in that direction, possibly. But I do thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $10 super chat from AAJAS. And thank you very much for that $10 support. They said, do you foresee a ground invasion from either side? And it's difficult to imagine either side amassing enough forces in any near-term time frame.
There is a possibility for major ground conflicts to happen in between both sides. It may take it may take about 2 months for that to actually start happening. But it is entirely possible at this point that we could see that major ground battles start to break out between India and Pakistan at some point in the future. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for supporting and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $10 super chat from Uday Rathor. And thank you very much, Uday, for that $10 support. They said the India-Pakistan war information is loud, but still just 1% of the vast falsehoods about Indian culture online. And if you truly want to understand India, talk to an Indian, not the internet.
And I thank you for the support, Uday. And I think you may have thrown in that super chat in response to the Ganges River, possibly, or talk about that. That isn't really like a cultural thing. That's more so just like a sanitary thing that's backed up by statistics and information for the large part. But beyond the war itself, talking to I'll be honest with you, talking to an Indian, you're just going to get Indian propaganda. Like that's just, you're pretty much just like guiding yourself into just getting pure propaganda, because if I talked purely to Pakistani people right now, I'm going to be getting raw propaganda. If I talk to only Indian people, I'm going to be getting raw propaganda. As far as the misinformation going on out there, India is one of the biggest peddlers I've seen of it so far, along with Pakistan. Out of anyone in the world, I've never seen this kind of misinformation coming from both sides. And that's not at all to disparage your country, but that's the truth of it, because they say we haven't lost a single aircraft, but we have proof of 3 debris fields at a minimum. America stated that Pakistan certainly shot down at least 2 aircraft, which means that at a bare minimum, at least India lost 2 aircraft, meaning that India is going against literally every other intelligence gathering source in the world by saying none of our aircraft have been shot down. So if I talk purely to Indian people, most of the time what I'm going to be hearing is state propaganda from the Indian government, which is just markedly untrue. We don't talk to anyone on this channel to really get our news. Like, we don't talk to Ukrainians to get our news, because talking to people, you don't get news, you get feelings. Like, if I talk to Ukrainian, they're going to go, we're going to beat the shit out of the Russians. And that might not be the reality of what's actually happening. That's just what they feel. We look for video and picture evidence on our channel primarily to be able to get exactly what we're going for and what the news is and what's actually happening. And then we try our best through the misinformation that's being put out massively by both sides at this point to try and figure out really what's going on. And what's really going on is actually a pretty mixed bag. It's not really looking like either side's doing good. It actually looks like both sides are having a pretty rough time of it right now. But still, I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Right Saloom, once again, who puts in an 8. And thank you very much, Right, once more. They said, Enforcer is must news source for me and can't trust any other sources. Longtime fan and follower of you, and Slav Ukraine and coffee made from snow.
Hey, and thank you for the coffee made of snow. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And also, I got to say, thank you for trusting this channel as your primary source of news, because we try our best to make sure that it is. And I'm glad to know that people are enjoying it greatly. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $5 super chat from X Tinman, who puts in that 5 and says, do you think that China is concerned India will dent their Belt and Road and get involved?
I don't really think.
Excuse me. I think I said that wrong. He said, do you think that China is concerned that India will dent their belt buckle and get involved?
I think it was the Belt and Road program is what they were talking about. So
I'm not sure. I think it might have been a metaphor. I think I thought it was the Belt and Road, but at first I was like, I think it might be a metaphor.
I would say working off the Belt and Road side of things, because I don't really know about denting belt buckles. I don't really think they'll get that involved, at least in my opinion, because Pakistan is only a small part of it, and Pakistan will still be in the Chinese sphere even if they lose. So I don't really think they get involved. And on top of that, India is a nuclear armed power, and they do have the ability to strike anywhere in China. So that would be a pretty major sort of a thing for China to get involved in, considering that they could easily get nuked, much like Pakistan could as well. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $5 super chat from Filter Troll. And thank you very much, Filter Troll, for that support. They said, what are your honest thoughts about the possibility of nukes going off from this? It genuinely freaks me out. LSA.
I would say that the chances are a lot higher than other conflicts. I would say about 30 to 40%, not an overwhelming majority, but getting there. But beyond that, I do once again want to point out that this would be a fairly limited nuclear conflict that would not really affect the open world at large. It would really only affect the area local to India, so China, as well as Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Iran, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. And that would be about it. Also Nepal and Bhutan. But that would pretty much be it. It wouldn't really be a massive effect that you would see around most of the world. And even still, a lot of the nuclear fallout might actually get stopped in the Himalayas, because the Himalayas are actually tall enough that even with the fallout reaching those high altitudes, it may actually get stuck in the Himalayas and not travel into Tibet or the areas of Western China. So with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Cachulian343, what's in a $5 donation. And thank you very much, Cachulian, for that support. And he said, I'm beyond livid today with everything going on. First, no show on V-Day, but when I heard about Hungary in the SVW, I nearly burst the blood vessel.
I gotta say, might want to be careful with that. You could get some blood pressure problems doing things like that. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And it's been one hell of a day, that's for sure. And I gotta say that it is a pretty impressive thing. And I got to thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one. But before we do, someone from India said, as an Indian, can you state where the Indian government straight up denied the loss of aircrafts? If not, you just peddled misinformation. They've been saying that all day long. Everyone from India who comes on this channel says state TV has said in my country, and I live in India, that Indian aircraft have not been shot down, and we've killed 9 gajillion Pakistani people, and we're winning so badly, and Pakistan's about to lose, and the great Hindi states about to prove to everyone in the world how strong we really are, and that we've just been letting everyone survive by our benevolence. I've been hearing that for 3 days now, so that's quite literally coming from other Indians, that they're saying that the Indian state TV is saying now that no aircraft have been shot down. So no, if your fellow countrymen are largely the ones who are peddling the disinformation, not us. So with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, let's see here. Channel legend Marion Deemer said, real quick, can you tell me what's going on in Ukraine? Honestly, just to cover a little quick overview of it, like a little snippet, we're going to cover in depth tomorrow, like everything. Basically, nothing happened in the Victory Day Parade. Ukraine is still advancing in Kursk. Also, there's been some announcements from the intel that we're getting from Russia that apparently they're going to launch a pretty large air assault on Ukraine in the next couple of days. And Kapustin Yar, which is a ballistic missile test site in Russia, has closed their airspace from May 12th to the 13th. So that is currently what's happening there. That's pretty much the overview. But of course, there's a lot more nuances to it. So we will be going over that a lot tomormo. But anyways, jumping on to our next.
But I had to turn into Mike Tyson there for a minute.
Honestly, I did, man. I almost bit my tongue off when I did that too. I was trying to wince through the pain and not make it sound out loud. I bit the hell out of the end of my tongue when I did that.
Man, he sat there and said, man, there's something big going on up in Ukraine. They said there was going to be a major airstrike and they was going to hit a whole bunch of people. And I got to be honest with you, you got to go.
But anyway, so that we are on to the next one.
All right. And excuse me, sir, you need to leave. I understand. But anyways, moving on to our next one here. This one goes to Paul Liam, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Paul, for that $20 support. And we do appreciate it very much. He said, could the U.S. use a non-nuclear EMP, electromagnetic pulse, to prevent a nuclear launch?
Most likely not, because the only large EMP devices that we really know of that are effective are nuclear bombs. So there really isn't an effective enough EMP device that actually could just remotely shut down a launch like that to actually make that succeed. So the answer to that is, at least from what we know based off the technology of the time, no. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Bruce Lee, and Bruce puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Bruce, for that $5 support. They said dogfights, possible if both sides are loaded out for ground targets, using guns when they spot each other and getting personal.
And I thank you for the support. There's a possibility that there could be a chance for that, especially if they're saying that they were trying to conduct a raid over Srinagar, possibly on the airfield. That's actually possible that could have happened. But once again, it still would be wildly rare, and it would be the first time in about 55 years or so that would have happened. So that would be really shocking if it did. And so with that, I thank you for support and helping this channel keep on running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $5 super chat from Win the Dog. And thank you very much for that support. They said both sides suck, in their opinion. Can we switch to Ukraine news? Sir, do not redeem.
And I thank you for the support. But we are a global news channel. We try and cover everything going on around the world. So that includes the Middle East, the Indian subcontinent, East Asia, Europe, the Americas. If anything big happens here, Africa, South America, and pretty much all of the continents. So like if anything happens, we're covering it. So I thank you for the support. But considering that the major breaking news events in the world right now that are happening in India and Pakistan, we are making sure to try and cover those as best we can because a lot of people will be interested in that. We want to make sure to let people know what's going on in the world. Like there are already a lot of like people who make it their life's work to be just pro-Ukrainian in itself, but we are largely in support of American and Western interests around the world, and so we cover everything around the world that would have to do with that. And so with that, a big thanks to you once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Fantasy Star, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Fantasy Star. They said, where do the submarine fleets of each country stand in this conflict? And do you think that India will deploy their Chakra-class submarine?
India has a larger submarine force than Pakistan's. They're both fairly old, though. When you actually look at the kind of technology they're using, it's not a fairly advanced submarine fleet on either side. So technically, they really have a fair fight at each other. They're going up on a one-on-one in submarine fights, although those rarely happen. But as far as their abilities, technically, India would have a better ability because they just have a larger number of submarines that could be active at any given moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And I think you want to give her support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Terry, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Terry, as well. They said, love the stream. I've been watching for a while and first time helping the channel, and great job.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you so much for enjoying the stream and supporting it and helping it be possible. Because folks like you make this thing a reality for us each and every single day. You don't have to support the channel, but you go out of your way to do it. And we are greatly appreciative of that because it helps us to be able to be on air right now. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we got a 10 Canadian from Dhruv Shah, who puts in that 10. And thank you very much, Dhruv, for that support. They said, can you just check the fighter jet report you were talking about? I saw one Reuters report that everyone is reporting, and that report is by a Pakistani reporter, and it could be a coincidence.
It could be coincidence, but we're just trying to work with the best info that we have. Still, there could be a lot of misinformation going around, even with the info we have at the moment, but we're trying our best to sift through it. So we will try and look at it once we get off air, but I do thank you for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have another 5 from Win the Dog. And thank you very much for that support. They said, can't stand both countries. Well, I mean, okay. They said, but they hope they go at it. No, I hope they don't go at it. Like, you're cheering on the war. That's interesting. But they said both countries are jokes with unserious people.
Thank you for the support. I honestly don't really like wars. Like we cover war as a business, but it's something that I generally wouldn't like to see, and that's kind of why this war isn't making a lot of sense. Because yes, the terrorist attack was a terrible thing, but this didn't really require for India to then try and kill millions through blocking off their water supply and then force the Pakistanis into a war. Like this whole thing could be easily avoided. It could have been easily avoided in the outset by both sides, but instead they're going at it. I'm personally not a big fan of war wherever it may be. Now I have to say that this is one of the most senseless wars that I've seen so far out of all of them, and I would like to see that it actually could be negotiated and pieced out for the large parts. That way we don't see that the terrific bloodshed that might be soon to follow actually happens. So with that, I hope that does address that well. I think it wants to give her support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $5 support from Mark Holm, and thank you, Mark, as well. He said, truth is the first casualty of a war.
Oh yeah, it's a lot like that in most places. I'd say starting off covering the Ukraine war, it is a very interesting thing because the Ukraine war really set out to us. It was almost like being in Weenie Hut Juniors compared to how other people do disinformation. Because Russia is really bad at disinformation. It's quite truly see-through. And Ukraine is a pretty transparent country for the large part. So it's been a bit of an interesting thing moving from that into Israel and Iran, where there is some misinformation or the Israelis just don't provide information on a lot of things. And now we move to India and Pakistan, where quite truly both sides are operating on providing as much disinformation as possible. So that is a little bit of an interesting thing. So I would say that certainly in this war and the Israel-Iran war, that truth is pretty much, for the large part, the first casualty of war, although in Ukraine that was not the case, at least for the Ukrainian side. And so with that, I hope that is addressed to the best I can. I thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Laser314, who puts in a 5. And thank you, Laser, as well, for that support. They said, I think they announced it, so the other side thinks they're considering doing it. And how crazy are they? That type of tactic, referring to the nukes on Pakistan side.
It could be that they're going for a madman principle, where the Indians think that they may be run by a madman. That's highly possible, and we'll have to see how it goes. But they'll have to follow through with some sort of a crazy action, at least in nuclear posturing, to make it look like India may be possibly dealing with a madman in Pakistan. And so with that, I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Talgov01, who puts in a 5 and says, oh, yes, the fog of war. Thanks for helping us understand.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support and appreciating the understanding. Thank you. We try our best. Of course, we try our best to sift through all the misinformation. There's probably still some seeped in there somewhere, but I hope that it was as accurate as it possibly could be given the circumstances. And so with that, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. Also, by the way, someone said, wow, 352,000 subs. Congrats. And thank you for that, JR Does Stuff, because we are actually very close now to hitting 353,000.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, we're actually only about 200 away at this point. And this morning, we were about 200 subscribers away from 352,000. So we've actually gotten about 1,000 subscribers today, which is pretty crazy. And most of them seem to be from the stream, which is even crazier. Actually, let me go check the video that went out today. Let's see. Which one is it? Oh, it's this one. Here we go. Let me go take a look at this. Oh, dude, it's going to be below average. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. But this video got 250 subscribers today, at least according to YouTube's count, which is always off by like 50. But dude, what a shame. Let me show you this, Matthew. This is such a shame. So the video was actually doing quite well until we went live right here, about 3 hours ago, and then it just flatlined, quite literally.
Oh man, it died. Like it really did die.
It died a sad death. It was quite a good video, actually. I did a lot of research for that one today, and then it just died. It's always sad when that happens. That actually happened in one of Matthew's videos a couple of days ago when we did one of these breaking news segments. His video also died a sad death, just like that one. So now it looks like it's my turn today. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Bob Dole, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Bob, for that $5 support. And he said, I'm going to fill in all the rivers. If we can't share the nature, I'm taking it back. All the rivers, all of them. And take a chat, guys.
All of them? That's a lot of rivers. That's like thousands, hundreds of thousands of them. But I do thank you for the support. And I have to say, that's quite an ominous threat right there. But we will make sure to take one from the live chat. So what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And in honor of Bob's very nice super chat right there, we're going to grab a very nice live chat question after I copy and paste this next super chat real quick, which is taking a minute. But now we are moving on to that live chat question in honor of Bob Dole. This one is going to go to Wraith Cat, who said, what kind of nuclear delivery system does India and or Pakistan have?
Delivery systems for nuclear weapons?
Yes.
Pakistan has, I think, the best intermediate range and short range ballistic missiles. India has the full gamut: gravity bombs, short range ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistics, and ICBMs. So they have quite literally every delivery system imaginable. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. I hope that does address that live chat well, sponsored by Bob. Big thanks to Bob for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $20 super chat from Jay. And thank you, Jay, for that $20 super chat and helping to get the channel running as well. He said, assuming the India-Pakistan war goes nuclear, especially at this rate of escalation that we're at right now, do you think that they would try to stick to just strategic targets, or they just try to destroy everything?
They may go into a concept of, we've been calling it total war, but that's been a bit of a stretch. They may go into a total war where everything is on the table, including pretty much just built up populated areas. But I have a feeling for now they're going to keep it at strategic targets alone and try and avoid attacking civilian populations as much as they can. Although in some areas it already looks like they're kind of doing that. So With that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one. But a big thanks to you so much once again and helping this channel to keep on running, Jay. And so, what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
So our next one here goes to Nightmare Before Christmas, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Nightmare Before Christmas, for the support. They said, buy 2 months of food, people. Panicking and looting or panic buying are the worst or the largest threats in the rest of the world. And hope that both sides calm down. And LSA.
Thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. But I wouldn't really do that if you were in America, because there really is no need. If a nuclear conflict happens between India and Pakistan, it's entirely staying between them. So it's not like a nuclear bomb's going to be flying over to, Kansas City, Missouri, and slamming into your neighborhood. It's not going to be happening like that. So I don't really think there's that much of a need for panic, at least in most of the world, because this is actually a fairly contained sort of a nuclear exchange if it does happen. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, that's quite a large part of the world over there. That's about 1.7 billion people in total between the two countries. And yes, that is true, but it's not going to be affecting the entire world like, say, a nuclear exchange between Russia and the United States, where Russia would nuke Europe and the United States and Canada, and then in return, we would nuke the Russians. That's pretty much the entirety of the Northern Hemisphere right there going up into nuclear hellfire, which in this instance right here, it's only just Pakistan and India and their territories that would be going up in a nuclear blaze. So in the amount of land area affected, it's a far smaller number. And also in the amount of damage that would cause here in the Western world, it's actually quite small. Because if any damage was posed to anyone, it most likely would just be China, because they would be the only ones that would probably be seeing a lot of the radioactive fallout fall on their country. So with that, I hope that does address that well. I think it wants to give us support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat is a massive $100 donation from Mark Charapar. And thank you very much, Mark, for the massive support. That is extremely generous of you, and we do appreciate that very much. And he said, nice job, fellas. Keep it real. And thank you for that. He said, keep that skid steer ratio flowing.
Hey, and I gotta thank you so much for the massive support, Mark Charapar. And I gotta say, thank you so much for enjoying the job that we did tonight. We're keeping it real. We're keeping it as real as we can. And I gotta thank you so much for wanting that skid steer ratio to keep flowing, because we are trying our best. There's only so much we can do, and sadly the Ukrainians are not hitting them enough, because the Russians are running out of them nearly. But I do thank you massively once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this channel possible and keep it running. And massive support like that is greatly appreciated, because no one has to support the channel, not even a dime, yet folks like you support it massively and help us to make this thing a reality day in and day out. So a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Los Catarales, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Los Catarales, for that $5 support. They said, only thing dirtier than the river is Bonnie Blue.
I don't know what that is, but I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Ryguy SR, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Ryguy, for that $5 support. He said, another great emergency stream, and LLT, LSA.
Hey, and thank you for enjoying this great emergency stream. We tried our best to make it great, and I hope that we were able to make emergency streams great again. And so a massive thanks to you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And also now I'm seeing a lot of people saying who that is, and no wonder I didn't know. Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, okay. I just Googled that. Okay, yeah, okay.
Is it bad? Is it like really bad?
It's graphic. Yeah, it's graphic.
Okay, I'm just not.
I didn't know who that was, so I just read that there. I thought it was some like inside joke or something for me. I was like, hopefully I'm not reading off
okay,
something bad. I'm not sure what that means.
I think I'm gonna have to share in this trauma here. Let me go. Oh, okay, never mind. I just saw the first article on that. We're just gonna leave that there and just never. We're gonna act like we don't even know about that. I didn't know about that until now. Now I regret. So like I don't regret it. I just regret in general. I got to go like question my whole life for seeing that one. So with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Plazoth, who puts in a $5 donation. And thank you very much, Plazoth, as well, for that very generous $5 support. And we also have a 5 from John the Don. And John said, I heard North Korean soldiers discovered graphic pictures on their phone. I sort of related that last super chat. And at TikTok on the cell phones. And the Russians provided them. And they've been addicted.
Hey, they discovered a body. And Chris's mom, too. Look, they're all there. That's actually true from what we understand. That actually is something that we were able to kind of corroborate for the large part, because apparently North Korean prisoners of war have stated that that was an issue. So, yeah, that actually did happen, apparently. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is a $20 super chat from Andrew Barbaro. And thank you very much, Andrew, for that $20 support. And once again, helping to keep the channel running. And Andrew said, with the nice blue Smurf profile picture, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. And we are so happy you attend. And come inside, come inside.
Hey, and thank you so much for the welcoming words, Andrew Barbaro. And also, I got to say, it's a wonderful thing to know that the Lee Spring Army is so welcoming to newcomers. I also got to thank you so much for the support as well and helping this channel to keep on running. And I got to say that it's great to have you here tonight, and I thank you for supporting the channel and helping us to keep this thing running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so a huge thanks to you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $20 super chat from X-Files Facts. And thank you very much, X-Files Facts, for that $20 support as well. I've been supporting the channel. And they said, everyone asked about India or Pakistan. What about both of you? Please rant for 1 minute each about how your real life's going. Oh, my real life, I'll be honest with you. My real life is pretty much the stream, the videos, the channel, the Twitter, the Patreon, etc. That pretty much is my life because it consumes a lot of my daytime every single day and also the nighttime too. So occasionally I'll have a free minute. I'll go for a walk or something like that, or maybe for a drive. But that's getting rarer and rarer these days because the news is getting so crazy. And usually the videos take several hours to make each day. Then the Twitter, keeping up with all the news throughout the day, it's an ongoing process. And then obviously jumping on the stream and preparing for it right beforehand. That's another process. And then, of course, we run the Patreon on the side as well. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. So generally speaking, I just like to go and stand outside and touch grass for fun at this point. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I have to thank you so much for the support and wanting to know about that X-Files. That's actually pretty nice of you to actually want to know. And pretty much our story, I'm going to paint this. It's not supposed to be stark and sad, but this is kind of reality. Our lives are very boring outside of the show. We really don't have a lot of time to do much outside of running the show. And honestly, folks, it's actually getting, like, I'm getting tired a lot lately. Like, we took a break and we went to, I'll be honest though, our break wasn't really that relaxing because we were like going like fiends the whole time, because we went to Seattle and then we went straight down to West Palm Beach, and just getting in between those places was a lot. And then when we were there, we were like running around like wild animals trying to see the whole place to get an idea of what they looked like. And then we came back. It wasn't really more of like a vacation. It was more like a work-related thing, which had a lot going on in it, and it was exhausting. And then we came back, and then we just got right back to this. And then the news has been massive since then, and so we really don't get a lot of breathers. So we're generally, whenever we're not doing this, we're probably playing a video game, or I am personally looking at trains, like very short amount of time that I get to do that. And nowadays that's actually in the middle of the night, which I didn't know how cool that looked in the middle of the night. It's actually pretty neat. And so, you know, that's really all I get to do, because I used to go to the range a lot. I used to do a lot of target practice, but the problem is that where Enforcer HQ 2.0 is now, handling guns is kind of a little bit of a rougher thing, like getting them to somewhere else. So it's pretty much cut down on my ability to do that for a myriad of reasons. So then I've just gotten big into trains. So that's kind of why if y'all notice from the beginning of the channel's history, used to be big into guns and talking about guns. Now I'm big into trains, because trains are something that I can do, and also trains are free for the large part. You really don't have to have like a load of money to go get some ammo to go target practice, or, you know, loads of money to get a new gun here and there. Looking at trains is free, and that's something that I like about that kind of hobby, is that they're free, and they're also really neat because they're loud and they shake the ground, and the horns are so loud that every time Matthew hears them, he's jumping, and he's telling me that they're hurting his ears, and then they're not hurting mine. And that's when we realized that I might actually be kind of deaf a little bit, but you know, it is what it is, you know, potato, you know, you know, you take it or leave it. But anyways, I do thank you for the support and help with the channel to keep it running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, and also Snow White say, how many guns are we moving? You know, it's just like one, you know, just to take it to the range here and there. But you know, that's still an issue because it's in the Enforcer HQ 2.0 isn't sizable enough to actually have gun cases laying around, so there isn't one. So to get them out to the range, I have to walk around with it just, you know, out in the open. It wasn't really a big one to have gun cases. So, you know, like where we are right now with, you know, loads of neighbors, I don't want, you know, and a lot of them have families and kids. I don't want them thinking, you know, what's that guy doing over there, you know, just handling this rifle out in the open. Because I'm fairly considerate for other people like that. And I'm big into guns, love guns, but, you know, I don't want other people with kids concerned about that sort of a thing. You know, I want to make sure that they feel fine, you know, to have a day out with their family in their backyard, not see some guy, you know, putting like, you know, an M14 or a FAL into the back of a car and be like, what is that guy up to? You know, like that's kind of what I'm wanting to, you know, make sure to avoid there, because, you know, I got a right to do that, but that still wouldn't stop me from feeling like a douche if I did do that, you know. So that's kind of the thing that's holding me back at this point. But with that,
I never had to worry about that problem. The only problem is I have a gun that'll actually fit in the backpack. My honey badger literally disassembles into a backpack, like firearm. It's technically a pistol, although I did for a while they said it was an SBR. They're a little bit confused about that still, but I think it's back to being a pistol. I think, but I registered it anyway. But it actually fits in the backpack, so I can just put mine in the backpack, go to the range with it, and then come back, and it's nice and concealed in the backpack. So that's a good thing about that. Unfortunately, though, I don't think any of Enforcer's guns disassemble like that, so you know that'd be a bit of a problem.
No, my guns are like full-sized like battle rifles. Like a FAL is not small by any means. Let me go pull up a FAL rifle. These things are not small. These things are, actually that one's a little small. Mine has a barrel length like this. They're not small at all. I mean, like when you actually stand that thing up, and I'm 6'2", by the way, folks, the muzzle brake on my FAL actually reaches a little bit above my hip. So these things are not small at all. And so you pretty much just gotta wield that thing by the carrying handle, wandering around with it if you don't have a gun case. And most gun cases really aren't even big enough to fit the thing either. And if they do, they're hardly fitting it. So you know, you got a lot on your hands to try and get this thing around, or a Garand is like that too, or really any of them. You know, and then on top of that, if you talk about anything else, like say an AK or an AR, like that can, well, those are a lot easier to carry around. But then again, I still don't have a case, so then I run into a totally different issue there. You know, and also there's a whole other issue too, is that if I shoot them, I have to clean them. And to clean them.
Oh no.
And to clean them in here, I would kill Matthew from toxic fumes from like all of the gun oils and stuff, because once again I have to go outside. And like, you know, not to give away about where we are, but there's not really a lot of outside. So, you know, once again, I run into the same issue. Big gun out in the open near families with their kids outside. They're going to be, what the hell is that guy doing? And I don't want those people to be in that kind of a position, you know, with their family around and be like, what the hell is that guy up to? I would feel embarrassed, and I would also feel bad for them. So that's kind of why the whole gun thing has kind of come to an unfortunate conclusion for now, but hopefully I'll be able to start it up again in Enforcer HQ 3.0, wherever that will be. But with that, hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to none other than BC Skyman, who just threw in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, BC, for that support. And sorry for the stutter. I was picking up a stammer here all of a sudden out of the blue. I think my brain is getting tired finally. But thank you very much, BC, for that $20 support. And I don't see any comment to address though. But let's see. I think you left a super sticker. Yeah, it's the YouTube pear creature jumping around with the cane and a halo, and said you are amazing.
Man, that's a straw hat right there. That's no halo.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it is a straw hat. I didn't see the top of it. I just saw when he's holding it in his hand, it looks like a halo. But when he puts it on his head, it's a hat.
Man, what the hell he's doing, Vaudeville? He's got a cane and a straw hat. You said he got a cane and a halo. Like, I've never heard of that on Vaudeville. I'm just playing with you, man. But still, I thank you so much for the support, BC Skyman. You didn't throw in a comment, but you are a channel legend and an old guard. And I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, absolute legends of the stream and the channel, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to, well, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's see. Getting some news here. Let me double check this real quick. Let's see here.
Oh, look at that boiler.
Yeah, I'm getting some interesting I gotta double check this before I just say it out loud. Let's see here. It appears to be accurate. So, the Indian Prime Minister's website has been hacked, according to ARY. It looks like it has been hacked, and I'm kind of scared to go to the website. To be honest with you, because I don't have. Yeah, I need to hop on my separate system to be able to hop on that, so that way I'm not putting my main computer at risk. But it appears to be the Indian Prime Minister's website has been hacked. It's unclear what the page is now showing. It could be showing something vile, so we're not going to show it here on the stream. But it must have been replaced with something else. So apparently some cyber warfare going on as well. Also, let's see here. Apparently the counterattack to the counterattack to the counterattack of the original attack is now taking place right now as well. So I'm really like unsure exactly which counterattack this is at this point. But in other words, they're still going at it. That's all we know right now. Is they're still like counterattacking each other, and it could be the third or fourth one, the volley right now.
Well,
but enforcer,
when will the counterattacks end? Like it's like at some point it's just attacks. You know, it's not counterattacks. This is getting absurd.
It's absurd, honestly. I see here that Fine Touch Network saying the counterattack to the counterattack. I really don't even know at this point what number we're on at this point. They're just going berserk.
I'm just calling them attacks at this point because now it's just getting into a continuous war where it's just, endless attacks from both ends. So they're just attacks. But that's crazy, though, man, because they keep on calling them counterattacks. So it truly is like the counterattack to the counterattack to the counterattack to the counterattack to the counterattack. It's like this is just getting absurd at this point. But anyways, thank you for sharing.
We do have a video, by the way. Apparently showing an aircraft being shot down with a pilot ejecting. This is crazy. Like, if this is real footage. So you might want to go take a peek. I just reposted it.
Yo, DCS World on Gaw?
I wonder if it is. That's what I'm curious about.
So we got a giant play button up there. And was that a pilot or was that the aircraft? It's not really descript there. The pilot can be seen ejecting from I don't see a pilot ejecting from the aircraft, and that thing's also moving pretty slow. It's really hard to tell what it is. But we can also see some people running around in the fields.
OMG.
Oh.
OMG.
OMG.
That was the most American OMG I ever heard. Like, I thought that was really just like put in as a soundbite.
I think they're running down. I think this was allegedly showing them, at least according to the whole plot of the post here, maybe running down to go check on the pilot, but take that with a grain of salt.
This clip doesn't show anything really. Like, that shows like a black dot up there, hardly moving. And then the camera pans down before it even gets to the side of the mountain. Like, I don't even know what that is, honestly. That doesn't really show squat. So we're just going to leave that for what it is. But still, Matthew, thank you for finding that clip. And also thank you for sharing the breaking news as well. And so with that, also, by the way, to make sure that we don't get this thing running extreme over time, let's, how many super chats do we have left, Matthew?
We have about 10.
All right, and so we're going to be making sure to get through these, knock them out, get 3 live chat questions, and then round this thing out because I don't want to be here longer than we have to be tonight because I'm going to start, like, I'm to be honest, folks, I'm already burned out, and I'm going to just start beating myself to death here at this point. So with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to 2 for 1, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, 2 for 1, for that support. They said, Enforcer and Enforcer Matt, the U.S. offered to sell F-35s to India early this year. Given the current situation, is India more likely to buy them, or is the U.S. more likely to rescind the offer? And LSA.
I think the U.S. is going to be more likely to rescind the offer at this point because we're most likely not going to want to sell aircraft to a country that appears to possibly have poor performance of the Air Force. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Filter Troll. Once again, he puts in the 5. And thank you very much, Filter Troll, once again, for that second or third support. They said, you fellows will be rich one day, and you deserve every bit of it. And the quality of this news is unmatched.
Hey, and I thank you so much for the support. Maybe one day we will be. That's not why we do it. It's not for the money, Spider-Man. And we don't really do it for the money. Like, it's great to know that we are able to make this a living and do this as our full-time job. But we're never looking to become multimillionaires. If it happens, we'll be more than happy for it. Who wouldn't be happy for that? But it's not really the main primary goal of this. Because if we wanted to be rich, we would have kept going through law school and we would have become, well, beyond the crippling debt, we would have eventually been able to become attorneys and hopefully, make a killing every year. But what we really like to do is what makes us happy. This is what really makes us happy. And I would say that being happy is worth more money in the than anything in the world, really. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And our next one goes to Mark Andre Brunette, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Mark, for that $5 support. And we do appreciate that very much. And thank you for being a longtime channel legend. And we also have a 5 from Live Animal. And they said the Pakistani army is fighting an existential war. Their two fronts are open with Balochistan and India won't attack if they stop it.
And I thank you for the support and very interesting input right there. And we'll consider that going on into the future. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Soul of Life, who puts in a $15 donation. And thank you very much, Soul of Life, for that $15 support. They said, why isn't the USA or United Nations Security Council stepping in? And do they want a nuclear holocaust? And no, Marco just called up. He just called him up again for the second or third time just about 10 or 15 minutes ago. He called up the Pakistanis this time, not the Indians, and told them, hey, guys, would y'all like to settle down a little bit because you're about to convene a nuclear conference, and could we hold off on that for a bit? And apparently we don't know the results of the phone call. It must not be positive or they already reported it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would agree. They should try and stop this thing before it goes way off the rails. The USA is trying. We are trying the best we can, but there's only so much we can do, and the U.S. isn't magical, and we really can't wave a wand and stop a war when it's about to happen. If it happens, it happens, but we can give it our damnedest, and so far it sounds like the Department of State is trying their best. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to LSA Sergeant Figment. And Sarge puts in a 2. And thank you very much, Sarge, for the support. He said, LSA, hit the like button. That's an order.
And hit the like button, folks. That is an order. And a massive thanks to you once again, LSA Sergeant Figment, for being a real OG of the LSA. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have another super chat from guess who? It is BC Skyman, the channel legend. He puts in a 10 and puts in a super sticker of the Game Boy controller sitting there, arms crossed, with multiple sunglasses coming down on his face because apparently whatever's in front of it is so bright it needs extra protection. But Enforcer, tell us more.
I gotta thank you so much for the support, BC Skyman, because your support helps this channel to keep on running and make it possible. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And we have another $2 super chat from X Tinman, and he says, out of missiles, switching to pew-pews.
Perhaps, maybe, but that would be wild. That's actually never happened, really, in modern era war. So that would still be a first time in its own right as well. So with that, a huge thanks to you once again. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Wapalong Cassidy, who puts in a 2 and says, who's got more nukes, the Pakistanis or the Indians?
I believe the Indians have more nukes than Pakistan. Let me go check. Nuclear weapons by country. So, I see you know your judo well. Actually,
good one.
Actually, Pakistan has more nukes than India. Crazy.
Oh, I see. Oh, look at the technique here. See the technique here? Have more, not less.
Ah, yes, I see you know your nuclear well. Good one. And you, sir, are you ready to receive my limp thermobaric? How dare you, sir? Get your hands
off my primer.
Man, but with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have another super chat, this time from Andrew Barbaro once again. And thank you very much, Andrew, with the blue-looking Papa Smurf in the profile picture once again for the $20 support. He said, why do I feel like a monkey in a tree looking down at the lions facing off with the baboons are looking over their shoulders and at the hyenas creeping up behind them? That sounds like a good, David Attenborough film.
Why do I feel like a monkey in a tree, looking down at the lions, facing off with the baboons, that are looking over their shoulders at the hyenas creeping up on them? That is a very interesting question, Andrew Barbaro. And I'd have to say that is because you're in the middle of my brand new BBC nature documentary, presented by none other than David Attenborough. We had to make sure to do it as a parody, so that way I didn't say I was David Attenborough. But nevertheless, I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Andrew. And perhaps that may be because you are about to become a meal, or perhaps you may live another day and those baboons might go hungry. But I do thank you nevertheless for the support and helping this channel to keep running, because if it was not for folks like you, we would not be able to make this channel possible. And so with that, a massive thanks to you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Old Texas Red, who puts in the 5. And thank you very much, Old Texas, for the support. He said, if China backs Pakistan and nukes get fired, is it possible that India throws some at China in the exchange?
Isn't Texas Red that guy that got shot in that song Big Iron? Like, isn't that guy?
Big
remember?
Iron.
You know, Big Iron. He was riding, and the Texas Red was the guy who got shot in that song, right?
I don't really know the song that well, to be honest with you, so I'm not sure.
Oh, fiddlesticks. Beyond that, I would say yes. If they get involved directly and they back Pakistan, like become an active belligerent in the conflict, China's going to catch them nukes from India. That's a guarantee. Both of them will. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
The next one goes to Mad Dog, who puts in the 2 and says, will the war finally end that scam calling?
I would have to withhold comment on that. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. We are on to the next one.
The next one goes to Jason Curling, who puts in a 2. And thank you very much, Jason, for that $2 support. He said, I appreciate the early stream.
Hey, and I thank you for appreciating that early stream, because it takes a lot of work to do these, but we are more than happy to do it. And I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And guess what, folks? That is our last super chat to address. We had a very long list of super chats tonight. And once again, big thanks to you all for supporting the channel. And even if you did not throw in a super chat, smash the like button and help us to reach higher in the algorithms, because that like button has a big number on it. And we do appreciate you all smashing that. And thank you all very much. It's now time to get on to our live chat questions to thank the rest of the folks who threw in questions throughout the stream. Tonight, we had the Morse code decoders, the entire roster as well. Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Kevin J, Paul Schultz, David Millsap, Roy Fluffiness, Arabelle Garbo, Joni Dog, Norm Pritchett. They said, the Morse code reads, we are packing in so many wars every night. This is getting absurd, LOL. Anyway, LLT, LOSA.
And that is the same one as last night. Hey! Ding, 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 ding. And that's the sound of money. Y'all got that dead on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night. And that's crazy because it was the same one last night and it's true today again. Crazy, right? But still, I got to congratulate the Lee Spring Army Signal Corps for getting that correct again, because y'all are getting that correct all the time these days, and it truly is impressive. And so with that, it is time for us to gather 3 live chat questions and round this thing out. Folks, I was hoping to round this thing out at 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's now 3 hours and 45 minutes, and I can really feel it this time. I can feel it in my bones, which is a little bit crazy because I'm mentally exhausted, and somehow I feel like I've been beat up by Mike Tyson. So we are going to be getting 3 live chat questions, and then we're going to be rounding this old girl out. And so with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to AF Kaplan, who said, Monster Lab and I were wondering if India or Pakistan are signatories of the Geneva Convention.
I think they are. Let me go check. Is India a part of the Geneva Convention? Yes. Is Pakistan part of the Geneva Convention? Yes, they both are. So, yes, they are both members of the Geneva Convention. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And that viewer is Value Radar, who said, how long do you suspect the India-Pakistan war will continue, and up to what highest point do you think it'll escalate?
I think at this point, with how things are right now, it'll go on for several months before it gets nuclear. And once it gets nuclear, we don't know where it's going, because it could be a full exchange between the two of them, or it could be a tactical nuclear exchange, and then they negotiate their way right out of the war before it goes into complete disaster for both of them. So really, it could go any of those ways, but I think it's heading there at this point, without a doubt. It's really the only war I've ever seen in the world where I'm like, oh yeah, that could definitely go nuclear. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person through in the lucky last question of the night?
And we're going to take a light question from Andrew Barbaro, because honestly, my brain's getting tired too, and I think the Enforcer's brain's getting tired. So let's take this good question from Andrew Barbaro. He said, with the world designating as it will, how do you find your center?
How I find my center? I really just get deeply obsessed with trains at this point. It used to be guns, but now it's trains. I just get dug into them. Right now I'm reading a book about the history of electromotive diesel trains in the United States and how they came into being. And that's just kind of how I get into my mental place where I can kind of like recharge. I used to be big into playing war games, and I've kind of gotten back into one called Asanzo recently. But after covering war as a job for 3 years and like 4 months, Playing games that have anything to do with war honestly is tiring to me, as having to actually cover them and research them at this point, which I love what I do and I love my job, but having to look at war all day and it's just literally different flavors of war, it's like, oh, look, it's like the same people who've been getting blown up in Ukraine for like 3 years are now getting blown up in India. It's like, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, you can only watch people get blasted, like 9 gazillion different ways and 5 different wars until it becomes the same thing. And so I find like railroad stuff, which doesn't have to do with like, war or anything like that, pretty relaxing. So that's kind of what I do. Matthew says that he just touches grass. But either way, it helps to recharge. The reality is that Matthew's lying to all of y'all. The way he recharges is he plays GTA 5, which he has gotten big into recently. And I gotta admit, He's absolutely goated in those GTA Online lobbies. He gets them. But anyways,
I play GTA 5 just from time to time, to be honest.
Man, Matthew is a real one on GTA 5 online, but and he's always telling me to get on. But with that, I thank you so much for the support, Jason Carney, who threw in a 5 and said, who will win between 100 LSA members versus a silverback gorilla? The 100 LSA members, because we are very coordinated and organized, so we'd be able to figure out a plan to beat that gorilla. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we've reached the end of tonight's stream. I got to thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to run the stream for all of y'all, and it has been one hell of a show. We had a peak viewership of 11,000 people, and over the course of the stream, 127,000 people have watched the news. We're entirely honored and appreciative to have had all of y'all here, and I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to speed through this tonight, but I am absolutely entirely speeding through tonight. I am worn out, and so with that, we're going to be getting off, hopefully recharging, maybe not, who knows, we'll figure that out, and we will be seeing y'all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news from around the world. And so with that, folks, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukrainian, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die.
And with that, folks, thank you all for joining us once again tonight on another historic day of news where India attacked Pakistan and Pakistan attacked India, and it went back and forth all night long, and it's still going on. They're still not finished yet, and right now it's chaos. But we will be back tomorrow midday to cover that in the short war video, and tomorrow, I believe, is my day for the short war. So if there is enough news to cover, you'll be hearing from me in the video. And also, join us again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern for our nightly war news stream once again, where we'll cover all the Ukraine and Russian news tomorrow night that we have maybe missed today. And of course, there was big news on that front as well. So be sure to join us then. And with that, folks, thank you all for watching, and Slava Ukraine, Heroam Slava, get some rest, and good night.